Well, I guess there's no intro. So let me just make sure this
Yep.
live is running on my cell phone. First live stream. I doubt anyone's watching this part, but maybe they'll watch it back later. So let's see if we're running live. If so, yes, it looks as though we are. One like, is that you? Are you the one like?
No, I'm not.
How does it have a like if there's no views? Oh, Mazdig. Who's Mazdigs? Yes, we are live. Can you see us? Perfect. Yes, we are live right now. I have access to my chat here on my cell phone. I'll need to figure out how to get that on my desktop later. But for now, we're live. Hey, who is this? Oh, awesome. How you doing, Maz? Maz Diggs? This is our first time going live. I should not be sharing this Discord call here right now. I should be sharing the YouTube that we're going to watch. So, John Paul and I right now are going to be looking through and at. Let me get the chat open on my other monitor. Sorry, this is like super rough around the edges. I've never done this before. I'm now learning why streamers have like 4 monitors, because I think that would make this significantly easier. But we're going to be looking at some debate content, and if anybody sees this and would like to debate and join the live to argue with John Paul or myself, they're more than welcome to. And yeah, let's just get into watching this. So JP, you debated the soy pill, so Mr. Soy himself.
Yes, that's right. And this was actually quite some time ago. This was back in April after he debated Lila Rose at the event we had at UC Berkeley. And he did a live stream reviewing his debate against her, and I joined and watched in. And it was kind of an interesting experience watching the pro-choice chatters there. So I decided to send him a message and be like, "Hey, we gotta do a debate or something like right now." And he's like, "Sure, go ahead, join the call on Discord." So I called him, and I mean, I think that the debate speaks for itself, but I think it was very, very clearly in my favor. There was a lot of things that he agreed to that were frankly quite absurd and just morally abhorrent for any normal viewer. And so I think it was quite interesting how he didn't have the moral intuition to just like stand away from that in general. But so,
JP,
well,
Maz Diggs here is asking you, oh, John Paul, are you the economy major that destroyed them
yeah,
all at
that's
Berkeley?
me.
Yeah, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, this is John Paul. He's the other one that was up there debating the UNF America crowd, and he absolutely cooked them. They literally cover their ears and go, la la la, we aren't listening, while John Paul is arguing with them. It was
I
fire.
can't. We got to make like a clip of just like all their responses like to that because they were so bad faith. Dude, they just commented on my Instagram post and said, "Oh, it's gonna be so easy destroying you guys," and I just replied with a question mark.
Dude, we have Charlie Kirk at home. Charlie Kirk at home. Literally. All right. Well, I say, do you have a timestamp, JP? Where are we skipping to in this live
I
stream?
do. So we can start right at the segment where go through all the absurdities. I think there's 2 moments for that. We can just start because I do a little thing talking about it.
Yeah, yeah. Give me the first
Let's
one.
see.
Do you have it?
I think I do. Let's go to 422.
422. All right. Let's get this transitioned over for everyone. 4 minutes, 22 seconds.
Not able humans are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. And I think the distinction to make here is that under your view, it seems like I would have to say that like in order to be a rational creature, it would have to be immediately deployable to like your rationality would have to be immediately deployable.
Miguel,
And
real
I think that's
fast.
the
I
main
cannot hear
dis-
the audio from it.
Oh, you can't hear the audio. Okay,
Yes, I
okay.
can.
I'm going to turn on these captions for you then.
Okay.
And we'll go along
distinction
that
here
way.
because there's
Yeah.
many cases,
Yeah.
you know, people who are in comas who can't immediately deploy their rationalities. And I guess like on your position for consciousness, I would say something like, is a baby who's born like into a coma, or a baby who is born with a delay in the development of consciousness such that they won't be conscious for like another 8 months, would it be permissible to kill those babies?
I think yeah. I think we even said this. I don't know if you asked this or the live action people asked this, but in my opinion, yeah, it's like the same Well, to be clear, this is a different argument than the capacity for consciousness. Because at that point, they have the capacity, but I would feel no moral qualms insofar as like you're erasing potential there. You're not getting rid of something. Yeah, it's like, hey, there's a, let's say, 50% chance, or maybe like a 90% chance that this is going to become a thinking, feeling, human, breathing being. However, right now it's not. It's in a coma, has no brain activity, can't feel pain. I don't see what is lost inherently by getting rid of that other than potential. And unless you can tell me the reasons for not getting rid of that potential outweigh the pain and suffering and a misfortune that could be caused directly to the people who are making that decision if they don't do it, then I can't be convinced to not do it.
Sure.
All right, so let's dumb this down into plain English for everyone.
Yes.
What is it? What exactly does that mean, JP?
So a baby is born into a coma. So that means all the parts of the baby is there, toddler, everything. Just not currently exercising any brain activity to the point where it's displaying consciousness because, people in comas aren't really conscious at the moment. And so I say, would it be okay to kill this baby? And he says, yeah, I think so. I think there's only potential there. And so it's okay.
Yeah, so this is a baby that like literally is just an already developed baby, but happens to be unconscious for some reason. I wonder what he'd say if, like, let's say the baby's just been asleep since it was capable of that cognitive thought, and it's currently asleep. It was born, and it's just about to wake up for the first time ever. Would you still be okay with that? And I guess he'd definitely say no. Like, he bit every bullet here. And that's just like absurd. A fully developed human baby that just needs like a little tap on the shoulder, like, hey, time to wake up. And he's like, nah, kill it. I'd rather
Yeah.
kill 2 cockroaches than that. Is that
Oh yeah, that comes later.
do you have the timestamp for another thing there?
Yeah, I mean, it honestly could just keep going from here. I think 6:30 looks like a good one because I think I give like a little introduction of, this is how we
Exciting.
evaluate each other's views. We critique them with what we think would lead to crazy consequences under each other's views. And then, we just see like what has less, so to speak. And then whichever has less crazy consequences, we're probably more compelled to do that because it's more intuitive and not as obviously evil.
Yeah.
Like, would it be permissible for me to then kill this baby or kill this 8-year-old human who's not hasn't experienced consciousness and use him sort
pause
of
it real
as
fast.
like for organ harvest?
Yeah.
So just to give context for what's going on here, beforehand, I had asked him, so let's say, we can get a syringe that has some sort of injection onto the fetus that would delay its development of consciousness to about like 8 years of age. You can keep growing the fetus until 8 years and then 8 or 10 years. And then at the 10-year mark, it'll be conscious. Could we kill it at like the 8-year mark and then use it for organ harvesting? And then I continue from there. So I just wanted to give that context because that bit didn't include it.
Or maybe as like a sex doll.
The sex doll comments. So you're asking him if a baby's born and it's not conscious, but it could be conscious, can you use it as a sex doll?
One of those is a lot more loaded, but ironically, yeah, I think so. This is fine because, again, the thing that I care about when you're killing a person is either ceasing a previous conscious experience or causing pain or suffering. And if neither of those things are occurring, then I don't really mind if you're able to somehow genetically alter fetuses so that they never develop into human beings and they never feel pain and they never have the consciousness. Then it's like, okay, like this is something I don't know if you saw recently. It's sort of aside, but it's a very similar concept. There was like this photo of like a pig that was like,
All right, well, I don't even think we need that. Just to me, this is like an intersection between 2 things that these people have in their minds that they just can't comprehend. One is the unique value and sanctity of human life. The other is how sex isn't just something that you do for pleasure. So if you don't think that human life innately has value, and you don't think that sex is something valuable, of course you can have sex with like the brainless fetus that you purposely raised to be brainless. Like, why would you not be able to? And it's disgusting and you want to like recoil and get mad at Soy Pill. But at the same time, the only difference between him and a standard pro-choicer is that Soy Pill is more consistent. So it's like, how can you hate someone more just for being more consistent than the other pro-choicer?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's more, you almost appreciate it more that he's willing to say the things that his view leads to, rather than the people who try to obfuscate and hide it and just want to justify their beliefs and look optically good doing so. And that was very apparent in this. And I could even, if I wanted to keep pressing him on this example in particular, not only do I think it would be okay under his worldview, but we would probably maybe even be obligated to do so. Or at least like not, if not obligated, it would be a good thing, because if we provide this as a service where, okay, mothers who want abortions, instead we're going to mandate it that we just keep growing the fetus outside, and then at 8 years old, we'll kill them before they become conscious, and then we'll turn them into sex dolls and use them for organ harvesting. You'll save lives through the organs that you get from it. You'll provide people with a lot of pleasure. People use sex dolls in real life. Now they can use someone who is human but dead as that instead. And so it's just completely gross and disgusting, everything that these leads to. I also saw Maz Diggs in the chat saying, "So you're debating this guy. When and where did this debate take place?" So this debate took place in April, around after the Lila Rose. There was a Lila Rose event that we had at UC Berkeley, and then a few days after that, I debated him on his live stream. So that's why you don't see me in the video. It's because it's just Soypill's live stream, so it's just his camera setup, and I just called him on Discord.
Yeah, so like the utilitarians, which is I guess what Soypill would probably consider himself. Yeah, why not? Like, not only is it not bad to have all these sex babies without brains, it's a good thing to have more of these sex babies without brains. Bring it to market. Like, let's get conveyor belts going so that way we can sell them off. And what I don't understand, I was talking to him about this after the event because he said the same thing to me, is just he can't bring himself to be pro-life because it doesn't make any sense. It's absurd. That's absurd to him. But all this other stuff, like, oh, raising babies without brains and having sex with them, killing a baby that just hasn't been awake yet, that's not absurd. Like, that doesn't clock as absurd in his head. And I'm just thinking, like, how is it more absurd that abortion be wrong than that human sex baby unconscious conveyor belt be right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
How does he come to the conclusion that that makes more sense than the other thing? Because
Yes. Like,
it'd
my
be
view
so
leads
crazy it'd be so crazy if we thought abortion was wrong that we have to think that this is right.
Yes, exactly. And so that's why I said at the beginning, which we skipped over just because it was context that was unnecessary. But I said the way we critique each other's views is by saying your leads to these insane consequences, mine leads to these. He hardly had any throughout the entire debate. He tried to say something about contraception that didn't really work. But I gave all of these, and there's way, way, way more than this. I probably ran about at least 5 against him that I think each of them on their own would just merit an absolute visceral reaction where I'd be like, that's insane. I'm never going to take on this view.
Yeah,
But
and for
yeah,
anyone
there's this.
watching right now, they get worse. Like, they get a lot worse than what we're talking about right now. And it's just keep that in mind. Like, he thinks it's less crazy to do these things than to think abortion is wrong. Do we have another timestamp, JP? Or are we forwarding
think,
from here?
Honestly, it just keeps going, because in this segment, I just like keep going with them.
Alright.
I go like, okay, what about this and this?
Let's see
So
it,
you
let's
can
see
just
it.
like probably
Concept,
skip until he's done with this
genetically engineered
side
without a head,
tangent
still
about the
has,
pig.
nipples. What is the
I would definitely take that as an absurdity, but I want to start questioning more some other portions. So, for instance, I think its implications in terms of like animals, for instance, is something that is problematic for the consciousness view. Like a pig, for instance, scientists could probably say that a pig would have a higher degree of conscious experience, or at least would have more qualities about consciousness that we tend to value than, say, a 1-year-old child. So, like, how would your like framework work in that regards? Like, would it be more wrong to kill a pig than a 1-year-old child?
more wrong? I think so. I think there are pretty good arguments for this. Yeah.
So he just concedes as if you like, like you see people on Instagram commenting, Batman couldn't get this out of me. There's no way as a pro-choicer that I would admit this. That like,
Oh yeah.
if there's a baby hanging off one side of a cliff and there's a 1-year-old pig on the other side, or not even a 1-year-old child, human child hanging off a cliff, and on the other side there's a pig, that Soypill would choose to save the pig over the child. Not only does he think he would choose it, he thinks you would be wrong if you chose to save the 1-year-old child.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is this is completely absurd. He thinks about it for like 2 seconds and he goes, yeah, I think so. Like it's pretty obvious just because the pig has more consciousness. Like this is an issue with valuing consciousness as the only thing. Like the amount of consciousness that is present is the indicator for whether or not you have rights or what your value is, at least. And so that just seems quite absurd. Like literally every time you have a piece of bacon on your plate for breakfast, like you are doing something worse than if you stab the next 1-year-old child that you saw.
And you know what's crazy is like I don't know if you've ever seen Dean or Parker debate this, but the way that they get around this is they just add human. Like it's a conjunct between human and conscious experience. But the problem, and if you press them on it, they'll say it's completely arbitrary. So it's like, how am I supposed to argue with you when you go, well, like you're literally working backwards because you go with the pro-life consciousness stance. You realize that it's not tenable at all. So you just arbitrarily decide consciousness plus human being, and then that's fine. How am I supposed to argue with you when you're arguing backwards from the endpoint? You're saying abortion is right and murdering other humans is wrong, and then you just construct the logic from there. It's not like they're trying to figure out what makes human life valuable. They're literally ending with abortion's good and murder's wrong. So like, let's try to come up with a set of rules that allows that to be the case. Because if you
Of
ask
course,
them,
we've seen that across any society that, like, in history that has discriminated against some group of human beings. We saw that in World War II when the Nazis were trying to say that the Jews were lesser people and not as good as them. We saw that in slavery when black people were being discriminated against because they were seen as not as intelligent or not as fair skinned. And so this is just the way that all evils in history operate. This group of people have some sort of quality that or lack some sort of quality that we're just going to arbitrarily index some value to. And yeah, you're right with like the thing about Dean and Parker, and that's because they will often debate this, and I think Hayden Rodea pressed them on it pretty hard. And they just say, yeah, well, it needs to be a conjunct between the consciousness and human. And that's just very arbitrary on the face of it, because now all you're saying is that it's just because there's biological human matter that is the like subject that's producing this consciousness. And that doesn't make any sense at all. Like if we had a species that is not human that can produce the same amount of consciousness or more, then like the view would lack the ability to say that it would be morally relevant,
yeah, that's a great
or
point.
maybe
Like,
it's
like if we
yeah,
bred a
or you
super
like
smart
I can
pig that
even
was as smart as
replace
a human being, that torturing that they wouldn't be able to say that like just breeding those, raising them, teaching them about death, and then killing them, they wouldn't be able to say that that's wrong because it's just a blind spot in their philosophy.
yeah, if I was able to replace like all my body parts with machine parts over time to the point where I just become only machine, and I'm still me, and I still possess all the qualities relevant, but just because it's not being produced by human cells means that it's somehow different, like significantly different than the prior case. Or
Yeah,
like, hell, what if I was able to inject something that would change all of my human cells into pig cells? Like that's the only thing that you change. Is it any different now? And the answer is obviously no. We would still hopefully. I mean, maybe Dean wouldn't save me over the pig, but uh, usually we would want to think that in this case, a human who's had their cells changed to pig cells and is still a human 2-year old, it would probably save them over the pig. So this whole thing about humanness doesn't really matter. And what you're really just saying is that there is something uniquely valuable about being human.
yeah. I mean, definitely. And he doesn't have to fall for these particular absurdities because he just said that like yeah, he looks at that, he goes, that's crazy, which obviously that is crazy. But then he looks at a pig has more value than a baby, and that's not crazy. That makes perfect sense. So oh gosh, I really really want to ask Soy, do you think that maybe you're just wrong and murdering babies is more wrong than killing pigs? Maybe that is a bigger deal. Maybe that intuition you have is correct and your opinion on abortion is wrong. Like why are you refusing to accept that premise? Because I don't think at any point in this debate he talks about why he refuses to accept that premise. He just kind of lets you push him and show him how absurd his is. But he never comes up with any counterfactual things that show that your view is more absurd than his. It's like he just sat there and he goes, yes, my view is insane, untenable, and ridiculous. And that's it. Like that's all he says the whole time. Like, yes, I understand it's crazy. Yep, ridiculous. Yep, doesn't make any sense. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad we agreed that
And
my position makes no sense. I still hold it, but
yeah, exactly. And we even talked about cockroaches later, and we can go over that. But it's just insane how he's not like realizing this. I'm having like difficulties understanding it, and he didn't really pose any significant challenge to my worldview. Like I said, he tried to say that my view would lead to the, um, to saying that contraception is wrong, or it would lead to saying that he was talking about me regarding the legal implications of it. Which, by the way, legal implications in regards to abortion doesn't have anything to do with the actual nature of the morality of abortion. I could be wrong on how we make the policy regarding the enforcement of abortion bans, but that wouldn't say anything about whether or not abortion is morally impermissible.
yeah, I wanna address. Someone said justice for Miguel, so thank you for the camaraderie. That's what they say to
Yeah.
get a justice for Brian Shapiro and the crimes that he committed against me. Um,
Yes.
all right. Well, let's
So that's Mrs. D. Shout out to Mrs. D
yeah, shout out to
and
Mrs. D,
Joel.
and I think it's Joel. No, is it not Joel?
Yeah.
Thank you for calling me Giga Chad. I'm definitely not built enough for it. I'm the right height, but I just need like literally everything else that would entail, which is a lot. So, all right.
Okay, cool. So if we had like, and we could even say this about like cockroaches. So if we had like 2 cockroaches, that would be more wrong to kill than like a 2-year-old.
A cockroach has a higher capacity than a 2-year-old?
Well, there's 2 cockroaches, so there's 2 beings with consciousness that are probably like roughly similar to like a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old.
Interesting. I didn't know they had that even level of capacity. But I guess we're getting to the point where like now we're doing like consciousness math. Um, Weirdly enough, even though I do subscribe to a lot of vegan things, I guess once the baby is born, I think the potential does matter a lot because that development of consciousness, that development into intelligence, that's started already through the learning process. And I value that like conscious accumulation of knowledge and language more than I value, oh, there's going to be some physical development here at some point. And so maybe I'd take the Matt Walsh where it's like, how many monkeys would I kill to save one baby? And it's probably more than one, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But does
Okay,
that make
then
sense
I
what I'm
would
saying about like
ask here-
the valuing the like conscious development and the conscious potential there?
Yeah, sure. So then what I would ask here, let's say the 2-year-old is severely mentally impaired such that his conscious experience won't be to the same degree, for instance, as like a normal adult human person would. It would be lesser than a single cockroach even.
Okay.
Like then would it be more wrong to kill the 2 cockroaches over that 2-year-old?
Man, I mean, if the cockroaches aren't causing you any harm and I have to choose one, yeah, I might unironically choose the cockroaches. I know.
Okay. So just to transcribe that for anyone who maybe wasn't paying close enough attention, he just said he'd rather kill a newborn baby than 2 cockroaches. And not only would he rather kill a newborn baby than 2 cockroaches, you should be morally compelled to kill a newborn baby over 2 cockroaches. Like I don't even like what do you say to that? Like yeah, that's crazy. Soy, that's crazy. I hope you're watching this. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up doing it, but
Yeah.
that's just the most absurd outcome. That's the most ridiculous. Like if you looked at all the opinions, the only thing that he can say about our opinion is that it forces us to think that abortion's wrong. That doesn't quite click in his head. What does click in his head is that killing 2 cockroaches over a baby is morally justifiable.
Yeah, it's like this is when you have conversations like this on one end, it's like, well, I'm very clearly in favor in this debate. My worldview looks like a saint compared to this. But then on the other end, it's like you do want to try to talk to the other person and try to do anything to convince them. And I remember being in this live stream and just thinking, is there really anything that I could say that would convince this guy?
You genuinely you got him to agree that there's nothing wrong with raping a baby in the right circumstances. That a baby's worth less than a pig and a baby's worth less than 2 cockroaches. Yeah, no, like I actually, usually people will say with abortion, "Oh, well, we just have a difference of values." And usually I go, "No, no, no. Well, do you think murder's wrong?" And then we can come to some new understanding, or they'll go, "That's really interesting. Never thought about it that way." But with Soy here, the fact that he's looking at all these absurdities and just going like, "Yeah, I'll take it. Sounds good." There literally seems like there actually is nothing that could change his mind on this. And what's even crazier is Soy Pill made a video about like veganism, right? And why everyone should be vegan. I think I saw someone saying this in the comments of his video. And, you know, whatever you think about that, that's fine. But he's not a vegan for convenience. So in his mind, he's more evil than a baby murderer. Like that's actually what he believes. He thinks that he is a worse person than somebody who rapes unconscious babies and murders them afterward. Like he thinks he's doing something worse by eating beef than that person is by doing that. And I don't know how he can't just accept the fact that maybe he's wrong about his views on abortion. Instead, he'd rather just accept, oh yeah, no, all those crazy things, they must be true. They must be true.
Yep.
Oh,
So-
someone's telling me to be careful with terms of service. Maybe I should quiet down all the RAPE words. Maybe that's not the best. Yeah, let's see. What's the chat saying about this? What do you guys think? Yeah, that is
Someone
pretty
said-
wild.
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of service is something we should be careful about with the language.
Yeah.
Someone said, this sounds like a strange argument, but you young guys will have to find your arguments as logics dictate.
Yeah. I mean, certainly. We have here no left winger seen it yet, but we would love to show off some of our logical skills if somebody would like to join and debate either of us. But until then, yeah. All right, let's move forward in this video. I
By
think,
the way, they're saying, and I agree with this. They're saying grape is better.
yes,
So we can talk about grape soda.
We'll talk about. You think the algorithms, they know grape now, so now you got to say soda after, so they don't figure you out. All right, let's keep going
the
here.
visceral nature of that, because cockroaches are gross, but like if they're literally incapable of having greater conscious experience, and it would cause more pain to do it to the cockroaches. Yeah, the utilitarian conclusion there is I have to save the 2 cockroaches in this scenario.
Yeah, I would suppose so.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Canubis. After a while, it feels like we're just deciding where to draw lines. Well, I draw the line at 2 cockroaches, apparently, according to John Paul. So it is a little absurd, but I mean,
the self-awareness is simultaneously charming and really, really upsetting, because it just drives home nothing is ever going to change this man's opinion. You could prove to him that if he thinks abortion's right, it requires that someone go out and hunt down his like sister or his mother and like do like torture them, and he'd be like, yep, okay, makes sense. Yeah, that's what they should do. And you'd be like, but don't you think that maybe is more absurd than abortion being wrong? No, not at all.
Yep, this is the moral superior position that we're watching, by the way. It's more moral than your position that abortion is wrong.
Yeah, and it's just it's weird because in some sense it's easier to debate somebody who has these views because any normal person will watch it and go, this guy's crazy. But at the same time, the things that make this guy's views crazy are what makes it easy to debate someone like Parker Dean or any other pro-choice apologist. Is just there's no consistency at all. When you actually test the principles, they fall down completely, or they're just based on arbitrary pillars. So in some senses, this is easier to debate, but also impossible to, because we could just name everything that his views entail, and he'll just agree, like, "Yep, that's what I believe. That's how I think it should go." But yeah, let's keep going. I see we have more people than I've ever had in a chat before. This is our first live stream ever, my first live stream ever. Please consider subscribing to myself or John Paul at Bright Young Minds or Sharp Young Minds.
I'll comment.
It's written right here. Yeah, type in the chat JP so everyone can go check out your page. But yeah, thank you guys so much for stopping by. And if you have any comments, I'd love to read them off on stream. All right, let's keep going.
In this specific scenario, yeah, if the 2 cockroaches or something, like, I don't know what the capacity of baby jacks was, but I think you could make an argument that a cockroach does literally have greater and higher brain.
So does anyone know who Baby Jax is? I feel like I should pull this up.
Yeah.
Is it Jack spelled with JCKE?
I think it's JAX.
Oh, okay. Jax. Yeah, Baby Jax was a child born without their frontal cortex. They were still able to respond to outside stimuli. He was still able to respond to outside stimuli. His mother said that he was capable of doing a lot more than just that. Recognizing light and all the such. And so Soy Pill is actually saying that killing this baby child that could audibly react to stimuli outside of itself is more okay than killing a cockroach.
Yeah.
What do you
So
say to that?
we could just do like a video, like make this into a clip, just to get like a videos of baby jacks and then videos of cockroaches, and just let people decide for themselves if they think that one is, has more value than the other.
Yeah, and I think that ultimately what makes us win the abortion debate is going to be when people get better at arguing the pro-choice argument. When people find the inconsistencies or the absurdities and accept them, I actually think that's when we start moving as a movement, because I think the pro-choice movement will sharpen itself to a point where everyone's just willing to accept these absurdities, and that's how we win back America. Is just everyone goes, "Really? You'd rather kill this guy over a cockroach?" And that's how we win back the culture. Is the way that we win is by the pro-choicers getting better. So I guess that's the light at the end of the tunnel, and I hope we can make it.
Yes. Oh, hello, Jorge. How are you
Rich, after
doing?
having watched.
Jorge's in the chat.
Hey, Jorge. Great to see you. Let's see if there's anyone here. There is an excellent course you can take called Debate University by Andrew Wilson.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's right. I'm probably actually going to learn through that course. We'll see. I'm supposed to be receiving it soon.
awesome. Well, JP's actually done a debate with Andrew, like on his team. So
Yeah. We can even against the soy pill.
against the soy pill himself. Oh my gosh, that's right. I totally forgot about that. That's so cool. All right. Someone says the line of argumentation lends itself perfectly to a really subtle checkmate. Find eugenics quotes from the bad German guys, ask them if they support them, and then tell them where it's from. Well, the crazy thing is I don't think that if we did pull up the quotes from the eugenics era, he would be like, okay, I agree. And then we tell him it's from eugenicists, and he'd be like, okay, I don't mind. Because I don't think you hear, oh, cockroach over a baby, pig over a baby, and then all of a sudden you hear about eugenics. You're like, eugenics? That's wrong. This isn't right. How could you say that? Like I don't see why he wouldn't just bite that bullet if he bit every other. But if I ever get to talk to Soy Pill about abortion, I'd love to bring up the topic of eugenics.
Yes.
Oh,
By the
yeah.
way, we got someone who wants to debate. I'm not sure if you see the Discord chat.
Oh, we do. Oh my goodness. Let's see. I've never done this before, y'all. So I'm actually gonna switch to here, and this is gonna take me a second to figure out. Let me drag you in. Let's see. So you're in. Would you like to have your? Oh, this really messed things up with JP's face cam. Please don't leave anyone. We're setting up the first debate. Hello, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear y'all. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
What exactly would you like to debate on? And would you like to have your camera on? Oh, perfect.
Sure.
Let's get this going. JP, it's gonna be JP. Do you mind if you join through audio only? If we have you audio only for a minute, and we
Yeah.
all right.
I could take off my camera.
I don't think you didn't have to do that, but that's fine. That works out.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay. Sorry for the time that it's taken to do this.
Y'all are good.
Yeah. What prompt would you like to debate, man? Sorry. What's your name?
My name's Noah. I agree with y'all on two of those things, the last two, and I think those two are probably the most important ones that we ought to agree on, to be honest. But the first one, I think I disagree on. I'll present my argument first, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So that would be trillionaires should exist, right?
Yeah.
All right. Let's hear your argument, man.
I just don't think any individual can create the values worth of $1 trillion. I think someone can capture that value. I think people like Elon Musk, that I assume this is referring to, are able to create and pioneer and make great things, but I don't think they're able to have value creation equivalent to $1 trillion, right? They have more wealth. Billionaires have more wealth than any individual could produce alone. But I don't think any innovation could reach that value equivalent of $1 trillion and have them deserving of it.
So I guess I have a couple questions. Firstly, I'm going to say, how much value do you think one person could create?
That's a good question. I don't think it's $1 trillion. I would honestly say it's probably in the ballpark of $50 billion, but I'm not going to be like super strict
Yeah.
on that or anything on the numbers or the exacts with anything. But I think $1 trillion is too high.
Yeah. So the reason that I asked that is because in my mind, even $50 billion, if we're going to concede that people can't create $1 trillion of value, I wouldn't think anyone could create $50 billion of value. The other question I'd ask is, what do you think the best way to measure the value that someone created is? Like, how do you measure it, if at all?
Profit margins and the overall benefit to the company, the shareholders, and society. Is this company a social society? Is it supporting good social relations? And I think most companies that do well do support good social behaviors. They're pro-social. They're not these anti-social companies. Like, there are some examples of anti-social companies, but I think SpaceX overall has been a benefit. It's been pro-social, pro-society.
Okay. So I guess I'm gonna continue with the questions a little bit. So, like, let's say I open a pizza parlor, right? And
Yeah.
let's go a soda company. Let's say I make a soda company. I make a can of soda for $1 and I sell it for $1.05, right? Okay, I can do that 1,000 times over. Eventually I need to scale. And so when I start scaling, let's say I obviously am going to need to hire people to do some work for me and some work not for me. And the process as it scales, to me, it seems a little bit ridiculous to say at some point, oh, well, you didn't create that value anymore. That value was created by someone else. When in reality, you're just managing a larger and larger network. The other question the other angle of this isn't just, do they deserve their $1 trillion? I think that Trillionaires existing in itself is a good thing, because the way that we do measure value is, well, what are the values of the assets that the company owns? So say that you own a soda company and you expand out and you expand out and you expand out till eventually you have $1 trillion. I wouldn't see any way to tax that money without harming the business that you've created, because the wealth is tied up in assets. And so if you're going to come in and say no one can make $1 trillion, we need to tax that out of you, what you're going to require them to do is sell off, first of all, lay off a lot of people, downsize, shut down factories, sell off vans, shipping equipment, all the such that would come with running such a large soda company. So it's not just, first of all, well, I would argue Trillionaires earn their money. I would say more than that. I would say Trillionaires should have their money because it benefits everyone else. Elon Musk is not spending $1 trillion, $1.5 trillion. Elon Musk has companies. Those companies own items, and the overall sum of the networks that exist is over $1 trillion. And so if you actually want to access that capital, it needs to come from somewhere, and Elon doesn't have the cash on hand, so it's going to come from selling off parts of the business. So why would we want that to happen? I don't think the federal government is better at spending money than Tesla. I really don't think that's the case. But I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
I agree there. Well, another problem I noted with your hypothetical is that I don't think the soda market is $1 trillion market. I don't think $1 trillion is being moved through soda.
Something it's like hypothetical. Yeah,
you can make a better argument for SpaceX or these like big even
it's
to
keep it in terms that people can understand. We could even say like $100 billion, $50 billion. The figure doesn't actually matter. What does matter is the principle that, well, at what point does it become you didn't earn it? Because that doesn't make any sense to me to say, well, someone could earn $49 billion, but they can't earn $200 billion. Like at what point does the scaling up of a business become theft and not become valid profit that the owner deserves? And then again, like I said, after that, the value of actually accessing that value in the company comes from selling off things in that company. It's not like the government just taxes Tesla and Elon loses money. Elon doesn't have the money. It needs to come from somewhere. Where does the money come from? It comes from Tesla. It comes from SpaceX. It comes from his investments. And so for the federal government to come in and say, we're divesting this money and we're investing it in like federal bureaucracy, it sounds like you do have a respect and admiration for the free market. I think Tesla and SpaceX are going to spend that money better than the federal government.
I think at a certain point, I like what you were saying there about the free market, because I do think markets do much better than anything the government can do. But the problem it's that at a certain point, the amount of money that is being made and that is hold up in this person's net worth across all of his companies isn't necessarily benefiting society for that. He might honestly deserve that. He might deserve, the $1 trillion net worth that he has. But at what point are we able to look at everything he's done and say this is a pro-social, that this isn't anti-social? What he's doing is not anti-social.
Yeah. So actually,
behavior
I have a
in what
response
he's in
for
his
that.
businesses.
So what I would say is, does his product serve the broader community? Who buys Teslas? Who buys, or who's gonna be
Indians.
training? Who's gonna be okay? Well, that's kind of funny, but who's gonna be
That's
training?
true.
Tesla's largely a data company. Every car company is gonna have some sort of autopilot that's probably going to largely be based off of training data collected by Tesla, because they've been collecting that for forever. So who decides the value of the company of Tesla? Well, the people who choose to do business with Tesla. So you're saying, well, what is the evidence that he's helped the community? I would say, well, people are doing business with him, right? You don't do business with somebody who you think is cheating you. Otherwise, you wouldn't do the business. This is true in all circumstances, right? If I'm going to sell you a soda for $1.05, you're not going to buy it unless you think it's worth $1.05. Alternatively, I'm not going to sell it to you unless, to me, it's worth less than $1.05, right? And so it's these gray areas where transactions can happen, and we can slightly disagree on the value of something to each of our persons, that we can both be better off, right? You gave me that $1.05, I'm better off with it. I give you the soda, you're better off with that than with the $1.05. And so even if you scale this up and you do it 100 billion times to where the value gain becomes billions of dollars, that doesn't change the fact that the evidence that it's doing good in the community is the value that it creates, right? Because if it creates value, that means that it was valuable to you to purchase it at all. And so that's why I think Trillionaire should exist in a nutshell.
I think that the fact that they have reached the amount of the $1 trillion is, it shows that they are engaging in good behavior in the market, which is why they got to that place in the first place. But I think at a certain point, it becomes antisocial within itself for you to have that much money, because you have such a concentration of capital and wealth in all this business that it's going to distort market. It's going to create a bubble within itself if you're a trillionaire, and it's leaving everyone else vulnerable to a crash, an economic crash from that trillionaire alone, even if they didn't cause that, if anything didn't happen with that.
Yeah.
That's why we have regulations on the housing market and stuff after 2008.
So I'd actually disagree with the regulations on the housing market that we have now post 2008. I actually think that 2008 was caused by market involvement from the federal government. But my just general response to, well, these companies grow in value and it creates bubbles, is, well, actually, I don't agree. I don't think that the growth of value of companies creates bubbles. I think government incentives and government low interest loans and government access to those resources is what causes these bubbles virtually 100% of the time. And I think that if I have to look and say, who do I trust more to not create a bubble? Do I trust Wall Street? All the smartest investors on earth who are looking at projections, current values, they have, companies have satellite pictures taken of Walmart parking lots. And then they look at how many customers were in the parking lots in that given year compared to a prior year. And then they predict what the sales reports are going to be out of Walmart based on that satellite data. I trust those experts who go through those huge extremes to predict and adjust prices accordingly and accurately way more than I would trust Joe Biden, President Trump, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, more than anyone. And so if we're going to talk about creating bubbles, I would much, much rather have a system where the free market creates a bubble on its own based on false speculation than one where the government causes one based on false speculation, or one when the government forces divestment somewhere where it shouldn't because bureaucrats don't know where to pull money from. The bureaucrats are the people who weren't good enough to make it in the private market, right? They're going to be making a tenth what they do in the other industry. So you're just going to end up with a bunch of losers who couldn't make it in their career working in the government. And it's just going to cause more problems in the long run.
What do you think of the, reforms, the changes that came after the great economic panic in the 1880s and the Great Depression? Do you support those? Did the investors foresee those coming? What about the the people that endured those economic crises?
I'd love to answer the one in the Great Depression response. There's actually a great economic paper out of UCLA that FDR almost certainly increased the length of the Great Depression by several years.
I agree.
Yeah, no, 100%, because the government comes in and they try to fix things and they invariably make it worse because that's what the government does. They're not very good at doing things, and that's why we have so many checks and balances to make sure they do as little as possible. So what I would say is that the 1930 reform, right? We were looking at an environment where unemployment was incredibly high. And what did FDR do? Enact a federal minimum wage law. Everyone knows that like basic economic theory will tell you higher minimum wage in a time of unemployment is going to either worsen the unemployment or decrease the rate at which the unemployment goes down. But again, to the point, you said, well, this private speculation can cause bubbles. That is 100% true. Private speculation can cause bubbles, but the bubbles are exacerbated and made worse by government intervention. They're not fixed by it, and that's what we see in times like the Great Depression and why it took so long to recover from the Great Depression. No one talks about that. They always talk about how FDR saved people and we had bread lines in the United States that were miles long, but no one likes to talk about the fact that the Great Depression went on way, way longer than it needed to. Or we look at the 2008 market crash. That was caused by the federal government instituting policies that insured broke people to get loans that they couldn't afford. And then that's what caused the huge inflation in the housing market and then the downturn that came after. It was government market, it was market manipulation by the federal government that caused pretty much all of these major catastrophes. And so instead of looking at them and going, well, gee, the government really should help people, we should say, gee, the government should stop causing all these bureaucratically created nightmares.
I mean, the Great Depression itself was also a result of all the government interference that came post Panic of 1893, and even post I forget what it's called, but the economic crisis that happened under Andrew Jackson in like 1825 or something. I'm curious to know what you think about the Panic of 1893, because before then, in the lead up, there wasn't a whole lot of regulation in any market really. So do you think, like, how much do you think there should be any? Like, I'm curious how much regulation you think there should be in the market, if at all.
I think that things oftentimes do go wrong. I think that from the track record that I've seen, the federal government invariably makes things worse. I cannot remember an example of a time where there was government interference in markets that was not negative and did not hurt people in the long run. And the panic of sorry, I'm fixing the stream here since John Paul left.
You're good, man.
Yeah, the panic that took place, I'm honestly not too familiar on, but I do know that the response to the Great Depression did make it worse, and that the response to the 2008 market crash took what could have been a quick recovery and turned it into like a 8-year-long endeavor under Obama, with the terrible policy that ensued under his watch as well. And really, it just seems like maybe the markets and the people investing and understanding things to such a degree have a better idea of how to control it than the federal bureaucrats.
I agree, and that happens to be what that's what the People's Republic of China does. You have all these 60% of the economy is what it's owned by capital. It's ran by capitalists and markets, and it's ran by all this. But in the end, who has the final say over everything? Right? It's the Communist Party of China. And with China, the difference between them and the United States is they don't have this bureaucracy. They don't have a bunch of, dumbasses in Congress arguing and bickering over each other about how to do things. Yeah. They just want the result. They don't care about how you get to it. If that requires markets, if that requires capitalism, they'll want that, but they're willing to, put the hammer down when needed in those few cases.
I'd actually even disagree with the idea that Chinese involvement in the markets has created the economic prosperity that they've seen in recent years. Even if you just look at,
it's the opposite.
Yeah, no, yeah, 100%. It's the Chinese actually disinvolvement with their markets, their lack of environmental regulations, that really enable them to be such a productive force. But even if you look at under Xi Jinping, their recent growth rates have not been what they used to be at all. They're having an enormous population collapse, and I am inclined to also believe they're lying about their population numbers. And the population's numbers are actually much lower than they are now. The median income in China is still incredibly low. By pretty much all accounts, they're still a developing or third world country. And I don't see their, socialists will cite their high-speed rail as a huge win for them, because it's just a misallocation of market resources. But anyway, it sounds like, do you think Trillionaires should exist? Did I move you at all?
A little bit. I can see the reasoning that you're making here. It's just that in the end, I agree on the premise that the methods in which they used to become trillionaires probably meant that they were being a benefit to society. And I think that if you get to that point, you have been a benefit to society. I just think at that point, if you're a trillionaire in the United States, you have too much power to screw things up, and you're putting too much power on one individual. Especially, like, I don't know what the Forbes top 100 is. I don't know who the next richest person is, but I feel like you're putting too much power into one individual up to that point, to where they can do whatever, and they're create bubbles, whatever they want in the market. That is, I'm not like a liberal or anything.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope everyone found that debate very informative. Let's see. Does anyone in chat have questions for our friend here? Sorry, remind me your name.
Noah.
Does anyone have questions for Noah here? Nobody at all. Let's see. The left doesn't care where ideas come from as long as it helps with their positions. That's what we are up against. 100%. That's from No Cool Names 69. Nice. Maz says, hi, Noah. And yeah, thank you so much. How do you find the live stream if you don't mind me asking? Just on YouTube?
Yeah, I just Googled YouTube debate, or I Googled debate, and then I clicked live, and I just scrolled until I found one with like the lowest amount of viewers.
Awesome.
I joined. So I found you. But I enjoyed listening to the stream, and I 100% agree about the abortion thing, and I agree about Trump-Harris.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, man. God bless you. Have a great rest of your day, Noah. And thanks for stopping by. You'll have to stop by some other time. All right, it is just me now. John Paul will be back shortly, but I think I'm gonna open. Oh gosh, how is this gonna work now that JP is gone? I think we have this. Yes, we have this. I'm prepared. We have this set up here. Look, I'm cut out, guys. Isn't that cool? Even though I have an American flag background. Whoa. All right. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, Noah. Let's get back to the live stream, and I'm just going to keep watching this debate with Soypill.
But let's just say that was true. If it was like kind of like a vegetable person who like barely can react to stimuli versus a cockroach who can like feel actual pain and all that, like maybe I might value the cockroach more there then. It's logically consistent. It feels gross because you're like, wow, you let a bug live over a person. It's like, well, we're weighing how much harm is being caused here. Yeah.
And so for anyone who joined the stream recently, what Soypill is arguing here is that it is more wrong to kill a cockroach than it is to kill a newborn baby, because a cockroach has better response to stimuli. It's more conscious than a newborn baby. He also said a pig was more, it was more wrong to kill a pig than a newborn baby. Funny enough, he's not a vegan. He said it's because it's inconvenient for him. Well, that's strange, because what that means is that he thinks he's worse than a baby murderer, because he murders animals to eat them, but a baby murderer kills babies, and he thinks killing animals is worse than killing babies. So I hope that Soypill turns himself into some sort of penitentiary to make sure he's punished accordingly for his crimes of consuming meat, which in his eyes is worse than killing babies.
Yeah. So, and I think you had a discussion with Franco after the event. I don't think I talked to you about abortion afterwards, but
is Franco the guy from live action with the camera and the mic?
I'm sorry?
Was Franco the one with the mic and the camera?
Yes.
Then yes, I did.
All right. So
people in the chat telling me to watch out for terms of service. You are the best, and keep reminding me. Again, this is my first live stream, and thank you guys so much for stopping by. Please drop a subscribe if you haven't already.
I think I heard that this was asked you, but I'm going to ask anyways. Like, what about like an amnesia patient that goes into a coma, for instance? Like, would it be okay to kill that person?
This would have to be hyper specific, but if the amnesia happened where it's like, okay, every prior experience is just wiped and they will never get that back, right? This is the equivalent of okay, I'm injecting this fetus with some sort of serum that causes it to develop physically, but it will just never have the consciousness. Then yeah, I think you can pull the plug there, unless there was like, something retained, right? So if it's literally the equivalent of a brainless, consciousless fetus, then what are you erasing at that point? I think it's absurd, because I think there's probably something there, which was why I don't think you can kill coma patients. They already have that brain stored stuff. But yeah, in this like very specific scenario, amnesia, instant coma, nothing there, completely gone, no chance of ever awakening. When they wake up, they'll be a 28-year-old with essentially the capacity of a fetus because they're starting from scratch? Yeah, I guess so.
So John Paul asks him if somebody just forgot all their, because his argument is, well, you can't kill somebody in a coma because they have memories that tie them to before they were in the coma. So John Paul asks him, well, what if they lost all their memories and then went into the coma? And they're going to wake up is an important part as well. They're in a coma, they're going to wake up, but they won't have any memories. Soy Pill thinks it's okay to kill them while they're in the coma. Which, again, another absurdity. Seems pretty absurd. Soy Pill doesn't care. He doesn't care one bit because he's willing to bite the bullet like no other pro-choicers are. So, like, what are we talking about, man? There's nothing we can say here. There's nothing we can do because you're just willing to accept, because in his mind, it is more crazy that abortion not be accessible than that people kill babies. And JP should ask him about cannibalism. Like, is it more wrong to eat a 1-year-old baby or eat a pig? And I think he would have said it's more wrong to eat the pig than the 1-year-old baby. Absolutely ridiculous.
Got it. So a lot of these things that I mentioned, I think I mentioned about like 4 reductio ad absurdums. That's what they're called. Sorry, that's a philosophical
Wait,
jargon
John Paul,
term.
before you go on, this is a good comment from Crunchy Bones. Hypothetically, Soy, would you rather let a fetus crawl around your kitchen if it showed consciousness, or a cockroach? And in this scenario, if we had to make it 1-to-1, either there's an invasive cockroach in my house that I'm like, oh gross, you're dirtying up the kitchen, or there's an invasive, severely mentally disabled fetus in my house crawling around. And if the cockroach had more consciousness and I had to pick one, there's an invasive, just to make sure it's consistent.
Got it. So I think I could, yeah. So I was just mentioning, like, I think a lot of people, in fact, I would even probably like say the majority of people would consider at least one of the things that I mentioned to be like such a ridiculous absurdity that they wouldn't want to take upon your like worldview at all. For instance,
Yeah,
like,
I'm not
do you
afraid
have-
to bite the bullet, but that's why I'm not an abortion activist.
So he like understands that if he were to go out and be like the pro-choice debater and go debate with people on this, that everyone would not be pro-choice. So actually, I think we should all go to Soy Pill's comment sections and start saying, dude, you got some great views on abortion. Please share them with everyone. Because while he's consistent, no one would ever agree with him on what he says. And this is like the best thing that we could have for our cause is consistent pro-choice debaters. Because no one's going to want to be this crazy. No one's going to want to defend somebody who says things this outlandish. So I'm going to switch gears here and switch to watching some debate content from my own interaction with Brian Shapiro, if I can find it by chance. Until that, yes, unalive babies. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad at the streaming thing, guys. I'm so sorry. Let's switch this cam view for a second so we can look for the video on Brian Shapiro. And yeah, I should have these ready beforehand, shouldn't I? Brian Shapiro. Everything that's coming up is Ben Shapiro. I can't even find Brian. YouTube does not like this guy. I should look up Pushing Through the Limits. Pushing Through the Limits. How's everyone night going? What is Brian's channel? I know that some people here are from Cool. What is Brian's channel's name? It's like Pushing the Limits? Is it Pushing the Limits? Yes, it is. Okay. Pushing the Limits. Why can I not find this video that I've watched so many times? Sorry about this, guys. Oh no, my viewer retention is going to start dropping off all at once. This is the worst thing that could possibly happen to me. Why do I have it saved to my watch later? Yes, we have one attached. Anyway, let's watch this video of
in the office and looks at any
Brian Shapiro chimping out over the fact that. So Brian Shapiro walks up to us on campus, and he's holding his cell phone. He's holding it like this. He comes up and he's like, "Hey, you're a Republican? Talk with me." And, you know, being as confrontational as I am, I said, "Sure, Brian." I didn't know his name. I said, "Sure, I would absolutely love to speak with you on camera." And this was my first impression ever of Brian Shapiro. So this is a very special video, guys, because this is the first time I ever spoke to him. Didn't know who he was, and that's really funny looking into this. You guys will see exactly why that's funny, because I say something that pushes on his buttons just the right way.
Who told you that he couldn't take meetings after 5 p.m.?
Is that not what
I'm
the
asking
story
you,
was?
what's your source?
It was a case.
What's your source?
Oh, it was presented evidence by.
Okay, got you.
What?
Okay, let's just say you're right for a second.
Okay.
Who won the 2020?
So he asked me where my source is that Biden couldn't take meetings after 5 p.m. And this is actually a defense that his own legal team used to defend him from prosecution, to basically say he can't be held accountable because it was past 5 p.m. and Biden is senile. So therefore, you can't even charge him. And the charges were dropped. And Biden made it free because he was incompetent and incognizant.
Election free and fair?
So I'm going to answer your question with another question. Why is this at all relevant?
Yeah.
And also,
hold on. No, it's okay. It's okay. So I assume you're a smart guy. You go to Cal Berkeley. When somebody asks,
is this true? When sorry, I'm reading in chat by the real Cranky. So hilarious when someone calls into his show and mentions your name, he hangs up real quick. Is that true? That's so funny. People are, dude. Cool has such a good community. You guys are like going and arguing with Brian for me, and he just hangs up. Thank you guys. I mean, obviously don't harass Brian. I should have prefaced with this. No one harass Brian. Let him do his show. But if he's open for callers and taking questions, I think you guys are fully in the right to ask whatever you're interested in. But don't go and spam his show, because I feel like that's bad comms. You know, he did something really messed up, but that's not a reason to harass anyone. So let's keep going here.
Trump lost the 2020 election.
Okay,
Trump
no,
lost the 2020 election.
That's not what I asked. I didn't ask you who lost.
Biden won.
That wasn't my question. I said who won a free and fair election in 2000.
So real quick for you guys, Brian, I haven't made it the text public because I feel like that's a line of privacy that I don't want to cross. He sent me an apology. It just happened to be the worst apology ever written. It was a really bad apology, but he wrote an apology, so I guess that's worth something. He said like, sorry, most people wouldn't have gone, or he said like most people wouldn't have gone upset. My friends would have thought it was funny. I'm sorry if it pissed you off. I didn't mean to piss you off. But he never said sorry for what he did. He said sorry if it pissed me off. So I would, like, I'm a Christian, right? If he gives me a good apology and he actually means it, I'll accept it in a heartbeat. It just, his apology wasn't a real apology, and it didn't feel it felt very convenient that it came after somebody reported him to his news station. And so I'm not the kind of guy to like ghost and just like be like, oh, I don't forgive you because you did something wrong. I would have apologized. I wouldn't even have went public with anything if he wrote me an apology after it happened. The thing is, he just like wrote out to me and started swearing at me and getting really mad and told me that I was a snowflake and my entire family was losers. Like, he brought my family into it, which I've never mentioned my family to Brian. And so I just ignored him. And then later he tried apologizing with a fake apology. I just ignored him again because it wasn't a real apology. And if he sends me a real apology, I'll forgive him, because that's all I want is for him to say sorry. Let's see. What do we have in chat here? Sorry, guys. I don't have my chat up on screen, and I'm just scrolling through it on my phone right now. Pushing the limit. Yeah. Okay. Brian is the most unlikable person I've seen in a long time. Brian is nicer off camera, I should say, but I think it'd be very hard for people to like him when he comes up to them like this and he yells like, Charlie Kirk was a total POS and, oh, you're stupid MAGA mushroom gobbler. And I don't want to say he's unlikable because that seems like a very mean thing to say about another person, but he made it hard for me to like him the first time I met him. I think I mostly got past it after our first interview because he was a really good sport after losing. Like, he was nice to me even though he got totally stomped the whole time. But yeah, no, I definitely think that it would be harder for some of the members of my club to like him. They had some colorful things to say, but I think it's just because they came in and they weren't the kindest and they were very loud. So hilarious when someone calls up his show and mentions, I already read that. Yeah. Oh, wow. This is so awesome that he likes the engagement of us calling in and muting us. Yeah, I've seen that before. He just likes to mute his callers. That's the privilege with me going on, is he can't just mute me if he'd like me to stop talking. Maybe I should call into Brian's show. I'm not going to do that, guys. I wish, but and unless he sends me a real apology, I think I'm done doing content with him. Miguel was not only on Cool's channel, but was featured. Yeah, Rattlesnake reached out to me, so that's so cool that they talked about me. I wish they reached out a little sooner because I don't check my Instagram DMs every day, but they have my contact, and hopefully they reach out and we do some collab stuff soon. I thought he was nice when I met him. Are you talking about Brian? Brian is a lot nicer to people who are left of center. I don't think he's a mean person to everyone, but I think when he's in content mode, he gets really unkind. Like, he's willing to be nice to people or be rude to people for the sake of getting more content out of them. And I can tell you, if I acted the way that Brian acted at a Turning Point meeting, but I did it at like a college Democrats or like a left-wing club on campus, I actually would be surprised if I didn't get physically assaulted. I'd be incredibly surprised if I didn't get physically assaulted. I say this as somebody who's been actively assaulted at protests for like wearing a Charlie Kirk Freedom t-shirt like I'm wearing right now. And like I went on Fox News to talk about that, but if I acted anything like Brian acted, I would be dead. Like if I walked out and I said, George Floyd was a terrible person and he died and, you know, he was just a really bad guy, like Brian says about Kirk to people, I would 100% end up dead. And not only that, Brian does that after making them angry with him. So he'll go up, record an interaction, the person's willing, they're like, okay, I don't want to be on camera anymore. And then Brian will follow them with the camera and say that about Charlie Kirk. It is a mirror. It is actually a testament to how patient right-wingers are that nobody has physically assaulted him. And I'm not saying anyone should. No one should physically assault Brian. What I'm saying is, if I go up to a person of an ethnic background and I yell a racial slur at them, I'm probably going to get hit. And you'd expect the same to be true for Brian, but it hasn't happened. So he shouldn't get hit. Miracle that it hasn't happened yet. Let's see. This guy is insufferable on camera. He bans people on Twitter who ask why he sent you that DM. He disconnects the callers the moment they mention your name. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's crazy. To be fair, I didn't tell him where I stood. I guess he just knew I was in TP. Oh, well, that's good. I'm glad Brian was nice to you. Yeah, and I mean, I hope it doesn't come off on this live stream like I'm trying to say, Brian Shapiro is the worst person on earth. He just did something to me that wasn't very kind, and he hasn't apologized for it. And like I said, if he does send a really good spirited apology, I will forgive him. But yeah, like no one get the impression that I'm saying, oh, Brian Shapiro is the worst person ever. If you're talking to him off camera, he's a lot nicer than he is to conservatives on camera. And I think he pretends to get mad a lot. Like, you know, I said that polling was largely fake and gay as a joke. And Brian was like, what? Fake and gay? How could you possibly say that? And I was like, Brian, if my friend's eating some unseasoned food, I'm going to say that's so white of you, right? Like, it's a joke. And I get that like jokes aren't pleasant all the time to everybody, but I'm not going to get upset over a joke. The same way, if somebody makes fun of Charlie Kirk, I won't laugh. I won't find it funny. But I'm not going to like get mad at that. Like a joke is a joke. You make your jokes. I'll make my jokes. And yeah, but he pretends to get mad because he'll make jokes that are way more homophobic than that. Like he calls all of his viewers, or all the MAGA people, Trump mushroom gobblers. He like says, oh, you want to sleep with me, to the people who call in, who are men. And it's like, what? The joke is that they're gay and they want to sleep with you. Like that is the joke that you're making. And so I just wish he was a little more consistent. And yeah, he definitely just tries to like rage bait with that. And like, what? You said what? I cannot believe you said that. I should actually probably switch camera views over. Yeah. Let's see. Brian has justified the attack on Savannah. Yeah, he does do that all the time. And he talks about how he's been assaulted and he was not assaulted as bad as Savannah was. And he minimizes it and says that really messed up thing that he's done in his past is his minimization of the assault on Savannah. So I 100% agree with you. He stands by it. I think it's because he's in too deep. He owes her a real apology because that is really messed up. I meant to support you. I think what he did was awful. By the way, oh, you know I'm Jorge. Hey, Jorge. I know that guy IRL. So yeah. It was funny that Brian got upset at a super chatter for calling his guest a mushroom gobbler. He said that was homophobic, but he calls people mushroom gobblers. Did he actually get upset for some? Because he says mushroom gobbler all the time. He never doesn't say mushroom gobbler. Should check to see if anyone's in the Discord waiting room. No one's looking to debate yet. Yeah, no, I 100% believe that, but it's just it's wild how inconsistent one person can be. so constantly. All right, let's go back to this review.
2020.
Biden won a free
Okay.
and fair election.
Then why is it then if
Every time Brian argues with the right wing, he goes, "Who won a free and fair election in 2020?" It's like a soundboard. Sometimes I feel like you could replace him with a soundboard that just has 9 different phrases because he says the same 9 different phrases repeatedly.
if Trump doesn't lie and say the election was stolen,
Yeah.
does January 6th happen? Yes or no?
He didn't lie. He was wrong.
He didn't lie, he was wrong.
he didn't lie.
So what was his evidence that the election was stolen?
He had very weak evidence of a few suspicious things going on, the changing of election procedures in certain states, the distance
Yeah.
of the signings that happened because of the pandemic.
So
There's a lot of bad evidence.
Okay. It was a bad day. Can we agree? If you beat a cop on January 6th,
Is there a Bryshat bingo card? If any viewer makes that for me, oh my gosh, that would be the greatest thing ever. I don't want to take over Cool's niche of watching Bryshat content though. But when I do watch it, I would love to have a Bryshat bingo card.
are you a hostage or a patriot?
Uh,
Donald Trump called everybody who he pardoned, everybody that day. Half of those people, 700 of them, are violent criminals. Some of those people beat cops. Some of those police officers have traumatic brain injury. So my question is, if you beat a cop on January 6th, are you a hostage and a patriot?
so I'm going to give you what you want here, but can I follow it up before
it's
you
not
ask
what
me
I
the next
want.
question?
I just want you to be honest.
I know. I'm going to be honest, but
Yeah.
then can I follow
Sure,
up before
absolutely.
you ask me the next question? Okay,
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Sure.
Okay. So, yes, 100% Trump should not have said the things that he did. It was wrong of him to say that everybody that was pardoned was a patriot.
Should they have been pardoned?
I think that it should have been done on a case-by-case basis. and the way
Okay,
that it
fair
does is
enough.
correct.
No, I don't
And
necessarily
your
disagree.
partner over here, can we
Well,
point at him?
no,
laughing
no,
his
no,
way
hold
away?
on,
I
hold
think
on.
that's a fair point. correct?
Not the violent criminals. I agree with you if you were non-violent.
Yeah, trespassers. and
Perhaps
stuff,
some
yeah.
people were over-prosecuted. Perhaps. I'll give you that. But I'm specifically talking about, and I think we agree on this, the violent criminals, some of whom beat cops. The problem I have is the inconsistencies, right? And I'm not saying you're doing this, but a lot of MAGA Republicans want to go after and throw people in jail.
Same way Democrats do as well.
Well, give me an
You would
example.
agree.
Give me an example.
An example?
Yeah.
So we just tabled on this campus. How many
Mm-hmm.
times have you guys been assaulted today?
So Bryshat loves to play victim and talk about how violent the right wingers are, and then he likes to cite his little I don't know about swearing, but bullshit studies, like the one out of the Cato Institute. And I actually refuted all the studies that they cited because I read a lot more than they do, and I know a lot more than anyone that was there that day, because the Unfuck America people that came were incredibly unimpressive. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. Like, they were screaming at me. They were in a, like, la, 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 we're not listening. And they were pretending to fall asleep while we were talking. And he just goes to these same talking points and tries to make the right winger sound crazy because he refuses to actually contend with anything that I'm saying. He said, who won a free and fair election? I say Biden did mostly. There was a lot of suspicious stuff that happened. I personally don't think that the ballots were rigged in any meaningful way, but I think that there was a lot of illegal changing of voting systems that happened. And they allowed people to do mail-in ballots in some states where they weren't supposed to allow that. They rushed changes through. And I think that all these things look very bad and undermine our democracy by looking suspicious. But I don't think that, I think Biden did win, and I think he won fair and square. But, you know, the media covered up the Hunter Biden story. And I say all these things. And Brian, without engaging in any of them, he goes, no. Next talking point. Are the January 6ers heroes and patriots or whatever he always says? And it's just like, Brian, you're not even talking with me. You're talking to like a Republican that exists in your head that I'm just not. I've heard that Brian was let go from UNF America tour. Is that true? The crowds they're drawing is so small. Yeah, that is true. The crowd at Berkeley was tiny for UNF America. It actually started off a little larger. And then as the conservatives and the TP kids kept coming up and just destroying the UNF America people, I think a lot of people started to disperse because they're like, this is no fun. The Republicans are winning. And it was at Berkeley, UC Berkeley. So everyone there is like a hardcore socialist. And they're just seeing these professionals get cooked by these kids. Every single person that went up cooked UNF America that I saw go up. And yeah, very, very embarrassing how small the crowds are. Literally, we have food. Mom says we have food at home. That's like we have Charlie Kirk at home is the entire UNF America crowd. It is just like a Timu knockoff. It's terrible.
So we were assaulted. We were assaulted
assaulted
5
before.
times within a week. Assault and battery. 5 cases in 1 week. So when I say there's Democrats that want to put people.
Can we talk about how unflattering this camera angle here is? I look like a fish. I look so gross here. Tell me I don't look better on this live stream than I do in this video. Oh my goodness.
If you look at the polling, and I can answer your question as well. If you look at the polling, the percentage of far left, of people who identify as far left that are okay with political violence as a means to shutting down speech.
Name me one prominent Democrat in office today.
So this is a different question, and I think that's incredibly important. You're saying one prominent Democrat in office.
One elected official in office that's on the left that
I don't
condones violence.
condones violence.
that has said that's
I think
okay.
It depends on the specific.
Republicans
cases.
have
I mean, certainly, yeah.
all the time.
Yes.
Republicans condone violence all the time.
Yes, there have been examples of some Republicans.
Name me
condoning.
one elected official on the
So
left.
I still want to ask, and
Okay.
And I think I'm being fair here, correct? Your partner was a little bit snarky.
Go
and
ahead.
nasty, and I'd love to get the raw footage because I think you.
Guys,
Democracy is at the core of the
apologies.
And I think that's incredibly important. You're saying one prominent Democrat in office.
You voted
particularly this one.
You
can condemn Republicans all day long.
So you're yeah. Okay.
Someone please get this man a comb. What is going on here? I was just on my way to and from a class. I don't know if we have any university students in chat, but you know, you just like go and you look like a bum and then you go straight back home. But I got caught lacking on camera the most disgusting hair possible.
Okay, well, let's
Outside of
focus
that-
on what's going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outside of that, look,
You can hear his partner in the background scream laughing at me as loud as he can. Just listen.
because I think you embarrassed yourself. But
Okay, well, let's
outside of
focus
that-
on what's going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outside of that, look, sure, all these things can be true. These Republicans can be doing bad things. This has no bearing on anything. I can condemn Republicans all day long.
So you're okay with voting for a liable sexual abuser? That's okay?
liable sexual abuse?
Yeah, he was found liable. Was he found liable for sexual abuse? Yes or no?
That wasn't the exact charge against him.
Yes, it was. He was found liable. I didn't say civil. You do know the difference, right?
Yeah.
Now you're making yourself. Okay, I'm going to be
No,
respectful
no,
here.
I know what liable.
Okay,
So I
okay.
understand the difference between criminal.
So
criminal
was he
offenses.
found?
So notice Brian, what any reasonable person would do, and what I do is when I talk with people and to post it on Instagram, is I'll say, do you happen to know this? And then they're like, no. And then I'll explain it to them. What Brian does is he goes up to Republicans and he says, do you know he was found civilly liable of sexual abuse? And I say, that's not the exact charge that he caught. And he goes, well, you don't know the difference between civil and criminal. And I do know this. I did know the difference between civil and criminal, but he's not actually there to talk with anyone, like at all. He's not doing what Charlie Kirk did. He's there to try to get students mad on camera, which Charlie Kirk never did, and then just try to make them look stupid. He doesn't make any effort to explain what's going on or any effort to explain anything. Notice in this clip, he never explains anything to me. He just tries to make me look like an idiot. But sadly for Brian, I'm not an idiot, so it just doesn't work.
Found liable for sexual abuse?
I'm not familiar.
Mrs. D asked, how tall are you? I am 6'4". So Brian is about a foot and a half shorter than me, probably.
Familiar with the case.
You're not. You voted
particularly this one.
You voted for Trump, right?
I would say yes, but
Okay.
I would say that I'm not particularly.
You
familiar
voted
enough
for
with this case,
Trump.
and I've seen other people argue these things.
Okay, but
let me offer you a counterfactual.
Okay, but hold on a
example.
second.
I
Let
know,
me just
I know,
answer.
I know.
He
I will.
was found liable for sexual abuse. How can you vote for a man?
I'm
and
going to answer your question.
Not even know the answer to that
I'm
question.
going to answer your question. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Would you rather vote for Adolf Hitler or Kamala Harris, but she sexually assaulted someone at some point in her life?
So this is something that I do with leftists when they talk about anything that pertains to Trump's character, whether it's the really, really weak lawsuit against him for sexual abuse that Brian is referencing here, or if it's literally anything else, is I say, I just don't agree with the voting philosophy. I would vote for somebody who's done terrible things if the person across the ballot is worse. And the example I give him here is, would you rather vote for Kamala Harris, or would you rather vote for Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, but she sexually abused someone? And when we're talking foreign policy and there's lives on the line, you should vote for whoever's going to save the most lives, not for whoever the better person is. I don't care if Trump's committed triple homicide. If he's going to save lives, I'm not just going to stand here and go, well, I don't care that innocent people are going to die. I'm too principled to vote for Donald Trump. I'm going to vote for whoever I think will do the best job. Because when we're talking about presidents, people feeding themselves, foreign policy, wars going on in other countries, it's a question of lives. So I'm not just going to not vote for somebody because they did something bad in their past. I'm always going to vote for whoever does the best job. So I'm disagreeing with his voting philosophy there.
Would you rather vote for
Adolf Hitler or Kamala Harris?
Who is so Trump was running against Adolf
No,
Hitler?
no. I'm pointing out that your argument is not actually logically
No, it's not.
consistent.
What are you talking about?
When you vote for a candidate, you're not voting for the person who's a better person. You're voting for the person who's going to do a
Okay,
better
so first
job
of
in the
all,
position.
you don't tell
So
other.
if I were, and
no,
I'll
I
answer-
disagree.
I'll
No,
answer your question.
But hold
if
on.
I were given the choice between Adolf Hitler
Okay,
and
that's
Kamala
a
Harris, but she
ridiculous
sexually
analogy.
assaulted
Kamala Harris is not Adolf Hitler. You voted for a liable sexual abuser. Kamala Harris is a woman who is a.
So he's just refusing to understand the hypothetical. He's saying, well, Kamala Harris isn't Hitler. And my point was just to make a really dramatic decision. Would you vote for a sexual abuser who you like as policy-wise, Or would you rather vote for a man who's going to commit a Holocaust of 6 million Jews? So that's what I was trying to ask Brian. And he would obviously say, I would vote for the person who I like, or the policies of, who happens to be a sexual abuser. But he refuses to answer it because, again, he's not there to talk with people. He's there to talk. Someone said in chat, I don't know who, but they said he's not there to talk with people. He's there to talk to people. And that is so true. And this is what I respond with. Mind you, I don't know who Brian Shapiro is. I say this by accident.
Respected wife, a mother. She's never been convicted of a crime in her life.
Did you eat breakfast today?
There's your stupid Kai Schwimmer. It's like the dumbest thing ever. Now you're embarrassing yourself.
Well, no, it's a hypothetical.
No, it's a stupid comment is what it is, because you're avoiding the. I don't care about your stupid hypotheticals. Answer my question. Is he a liable sexual abuser? Yes or no? Answer. You still haven't answered.
Again, I'm not familiar with the case.
You're not familiar with the case.
I don't think that
you're not familiar.
Again, so the reason I was so reluctant to answer is because the specific charge that he got wasn't sexual abuser. It was it's more legally complex than that. And also, the only evidence, fun fact, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, the only evidence that was provided in testimony was was not direct witness evidence, but people attesting to the fact that it happened who didn't watch the crime happen decades later. So there, as far as this trial is concerned, there was literally no good evidence at all that it happened. I don't even think it was a 50+1% chance beyond the preponderance of evidence, which is the standard in civil law. The only evidence that was given was people saying, yeah, Eugenie Carroll told us it happened. They got the date wrong. They didn't, there was no evidence provided in this court case, and they shovel it out like it's the biggest win in left-wing history. Oh, I'd love to say, hey, cool, this is my first live stream. I hope you're here and watching. Also, 3 of the 13 jurors said he wasn't liable. Yeah, civil litigation isn't like a criminal charge. So for a criminal charge, you need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, which means if a reasonable person were to look at the case, they would have to agree with you. But that's just not the standard in civil law. And they just decided that he probably did it off of what was basically just people saying, she told us he did it. Which, I don't know about you, but to me, that's not very good evidence.
Abuser.
Okay, I'll answer for you.
I'm familiar with
I'll
the
answer
evidence
for
of
you.
the sexual
How many
abuse.
women have accused Donald Trump of rape?
How many? Again, this is
Again. Yeah. So you don't care if someone is.
Mind you, I'm a 20-year-old student speaking with a 50-year-old man, and I'm just trying to talk to him, ask him a hypothetical, and he asked me, how many times has he been accused of sexual abuse? And I say, look, you're not listening to me. I'm rejecting the voting philosophy that you have. I don't care how many times he was accused of sexual abuse. And he goes, look, listen to you right now. And it's like, dude, relax, calm down. Like this is my first impression of you. And you've called me stupid. You've called me an idiot. You've called like, what are we doing? You're a grown ass man on a college campus. Calm down, lower your voice.
Actually, an ex-wife of Donald Trump's, who's now dead, said that Donald Trump raped her under a deposition under oath. And you don't know or you don't care about that? You're calling my friend ridiculous. You're ridiculous. I don't know if he's a sexual abuser. Name me one thing.
No, he's not a sexual abuser.
Liable sexual abuser. Name me one.
By the way, I don't know how many people have seen the clip of me debating the people at the booth at the UNF America. It's the kid with the frizzy hair, David. He's the one who I'm calling ridiculous because you can't hear him because he's off camera, but he keeps going, what an idiot. How stupid are you? Like off camera. He's like talking trash straight to me while I'm speaking with Brian.
Horrible thing that
I have not seen any credible. No, I said I have not seen any credible evidence.
Name me one thing that Kamala Harris has ever done in her life that measures to any of these horrific things that Donald Trump has done.
Okay, so
name me
again,
one.
I'm gonna take problem with your premise, not with what you're saying.
You just brought up Adolf
Hitler.
Hitler.
Incredibly important, and oh God, I hate people who can't do thought experiments.
You hate people. Okay, let me tell you one
thing. I hate it when people can't.
Okay.
Sorry, not people who can't. I hate when people refuse to do thought experiments.
I'm capable of doing thought experiments.
Okay, let's do it.
I've been doing this for 25 years.
Let's do a thought experiment.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what debates you've ever done.
He said he's been doing this for 25 years. So mind you, he's yelling at me, interrupting me, being incredibly not patient with a college student who, according to his own account right here, I haven't been alive for 25 years. And he's over here like freaking out on me. It's like, dude, someone needs to get their uncle off this campus, man. Holy.
In your life, so don't insult me and say I can't do it.
No, let's do a thought experiment.
You voted for a rapist, okay? So don't try to insult me, okay?
What evidence is there that
He's
he did
in
it?
the Epstein files.
What evidence is there that he did it?
I'm going to answer if you will allow me to.
Yes, let's hear it.
So here's what we know for sure.
So he loves to pretend he's getting interrupted. I say, what evidence is there? And then he tries to ignore me. What evidence? If you let me talk, I'm gonna say, when I have been more than willing to let him talk this entire interaction.
There have been 25 credible claims.
What does credible claim mean?
I'm going to give you the list if you will allow me to, and then you can retort what I say. Is that fair? Thank you.
Sure.
Just give me like 30 seconds.
I still want, after we're done with this, to take problem with your premise, because I think the premise is...
I take problem with every word you have said in this conversation.
I
Now,
don't think
please let
you've
me answer the question.
half the words
Oh, no,
I've said.
I don't think you understand what a liable sexual abuser is.
Can we move just a little bit? You need to take a picture of the art.
Okay.
Oh, somebody said they met me at Cal Poly. If you did, that's difficult. I actually don't have access to that. That's Reawaken USA. I wish I had access to all of that. I'll say, like, the first half of the day, the footage was actually lost because mistakes were made on the producer's end. I'm not sure when we spoke at Poly. I want access to the film. I've been asking them, and I'm actually really involved in that org even now. And hopefully, if we did speak, I'll get my I'll get to go find that footage and then post it. I'm not trying to hide any of that. So those people have no souls. I pray that they can have the opportunity to accept Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. Amen. That is so true. By American CP3N. Brian lies so much he didn't vote in a federal election until 2020. Oh my gosh. That's so funny. Does he not know that that information's public? I feel terrible because I forgot to... Or I meant to drop off my ballot, but I didn't for the California primary. And I'm here thinking, my life is ruined. People are going to know I didn't vote in this this primary election. Meanwhile, Brian didn't cast a ballot. I don't know if that's true, but if that's true, that's crazy. Oh, yeah, sorry about that. You're the guy who asked me about Myron Gaines. Ooh. Yeah, that was you.
Now we got to move. Just when it was getting good. Just... You voted for a felon.
So what the felony cases, the felony fraud in New York, where the bank testified in his favor that he did not defraud
So
them?
I'll answer that in a second.
Okay.
But
No,
just,
let's focus on...
I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on that.
This is why I discard the claims against Donald Trump.
Okay,
because
it's not a claim.
Every single one that I've looked into is
Let
so
me
laughably false.
explain. Let me explain to him
look into the fraud
difference
case. Let's talk
between
about
a claim and what a jury of his peers. You can disagree with the outcome. That's totally fine, and we can argue that.
Yes.
But let me ask you another very basic question, and I think you might struggle to answer. Is Donald Trump a convicted 34
Oh, that goes on the bingo card for sure. That's definitely on the bingo card.
count felon? Yes or no?
He is a convicted 34.
Okay, thank you. Now, if you want to talk about the merits of the case...
Oh my hair is so cooked. I didn't even do my hair before this, and it's less cooked than it is in this video.
In this country, you have the right to appeal, right?
Yeah.
He has the right to appeal. If you think maybe it was political, that's fine. But I'm giving you a list.
Yeah, he's in the appeal process right now.
Correct. So you have 25 women.
So you don't think the New York AG had anything saying the day she got elected, I think it's the day she got elected, I'm going to prosecute Donald Trump for a crime. Before she gets into the office and looks at any evidence, is an example of a prominent Democrat.
Sure.
Hugely
So here's what I would say to that, sir. And I'm sorry, what's your name?
Miguel.
Miguel.
What's your
Brian.
name?
So again, 50-year-old man coming onto campus, yelling, interrupting me. He waited till 8 minutes in to even ask my name. I couldn't ask his name because he interrupted a conversation that I was having with another gentleman.
Nice to meet you. So here's what I would say to that.
Did you speak with Kai?
I debated Kai. I go on Pierce Morgan twice a month, bro.
Oh my God.
This is what I do for a living.
No, I know Kai personally. That's why
I debated him a couple weeks ago.
We don't agree ideologically.
Yeah,
on
Kai
that,
needs to know what it's like to make love to a woman, by the way. But I'll leave that for another.
Whoa. He's a Christian man.
Okay. Mind you, again, 50-year-old man here making fun of a 20-something-year-old for choosing to not have sex till he's married. Like that's what we're doing now. We're going and we're telling kids half our age, like, you need to get laid. What are we doing? Brian just pulling up and harassing these kids.
Okay, I don't care what his religion is. Okay, he's the one who tells
That's
everyone.
Incredibly insensitive.
Well, I'll tell you why I said that.
Yeah.
Because these people tell other people how to live their lives.
He doesn't tell people.
He doesn't want me to swear. Well, guess what? I could give two shits what a 22-year-old virgin says how I should live my life. If I want to have sex with women or men, I will do that.
Can I ask you? I know this is going to sound like an ad hominem, but I'm genuinely just curious.
Yeah.
Would you be talking this way if he was a Muslim? Like, I'm actually just curious.
I just talked to those Muslims right there, actually.
Well, that's great.
And I said I disagree with the Quran. So
Yes. Equal interfaith harassment. Someone said the bingo card is in my DMs. I'm going to try to get that up over here.
You're wrong on that judgment.
No, I wasn't wrong.
I don't like anybody that's ultra religious that preaches what other people should do. I can tell them, and I'm trying to be respectful.
Really? Wait. You preach what other people should do.
No, you can live your life any way you want.
You just said Kai Schwimmer should have sex and stop being a virgin.
That was a joke. Okay. Obviously, I'm making a joke. I debated Kai. I don't think he's a bad guy, but I told him he should have a little fun and live life a little bit.
Oh, obviously, when Brian calls Kai a virgin loser, that's totally a joke, but nothing else is. So we have the Bryce Shapp bingo card here. He brought up He's definitely deflected to Trump. This is so fun. Thank you guys for sending this to me. He's the free spot here. Oh, 34 count felon. 2020 stolen. Oh my gosh, we already have bingo, and we're less than, because he did call me an idiot when I asked him if he had breakfast. And calling me an idiot is a personal attack. Oh my gosh. He did mention the Epstein files just now. I can tell you, his face was getting super red. You can't see his face, but it was super red. He did say he was on Piers Morgan. Oh my gosh. This is uncanny, guys. This is awesome. What else did Brian Shapiro say here? In chat. Let me know what I'm missing here. Seeing you on Cool TV, was about to go to bed and say and saw the live and just wanted to let you know that, in my opinion, you have the potential to be the greatest debater since Charlie Kirk. Oh, well, you know, Charlie Kirk was one man in himself. Maybe I'll be a debater of a similar caliber, but I'd never say that I'd be Charlie, because there's only one Charlie, and debating was just a small part of what he did. Trump cheated on wife. He didn't say that. Does it count? Guys, does it count? He said that Donald Trump essayed a bunch of girls after he was married. Does that count as cheated on his wife, or does he specifically have to say cheated on his wife? I want to know what you guys think. Can we mark that, or do we have to wait? Not a serious person. I think yelling at a 20-year-old when you're 50 makes you not a serious person. I'm registered independent. That's so true. Straw man, definitely. When he said Kamala Harris is not Hitler, that was a straw man. Big name guess he had. Liable. He did say he had Kai Schwimmer on, but I don't know if that's a big guess he was bragging about. He did say liable. Guys, are we going to fill out this entire card? We need a betting line on like the odds that none of these lines get filled out. This is crazy. I think the cheating one counts. All right, we're counting the cheating one because it's implied by what he said. Let's see. January 6th. He hasn't, but he will. What about his well, let me ask you about this. I don't know. He did not say mushroom gobbler. I'll answer but doesn't. He did do this. How could you support? He did say this many times with all the other things. I think that's all. We have how many bingos here? One. We have one bingo here. 2, 3. We have 3 bingos. So the question is, how many bingos will we have?
But I also
by
think,
the time the
I don't
video's
think
over?
Kai likes women, so that was part of the joke as well.
No,
but,
no, I think Kai likes
you think he
women.
does? Okay. Well, he doesn't like you using the F word.
Kai's a weirdly.
Okay.
He doesn't like. Yeah, he doesn't like swearing. He's
So,
like,
so
Oh, yes, he did talk about January 6th. That is right, y'all. All right. Bingo card is going.
So don't.
Oh,
So
let's talk about the felony count for
Yeah,
fraud.
sure.
Let's talk about that one.
Sure.
Here's
Yeah.
what I'll say. And I think
you
this is
agreed
fair.
though that he is
I
a
would-
34
He's
count.
a 34 count felon.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
just the legal definition.
Right, right.
But and this is what I think is important. Yes, I'm not particularly familiar on the sexual assault cases. A large reason for that is there's so many, and I'm a full-time student. It's hard to look into them all.
So this is something that I had a problem with Jake as well. Jake was actually the person on the UNF America tour that was incredibly nice and kind and a sharp kid. I say kid like he's not exactly my age. Sharp guy. Was that frick? What was I responding to here? Oh yeah,
on the
that I wouldn't speak on a case unless I was familiar with the particular case. And so Brian at some point starts talking about January 6th and all the pardons, and I say, "Oh, cool." So I'll tell you, I don't think it should have been a blanket pardon, but I agree with the vast majority of the pardons because most people did not commit violent offenses. And he said, "How could you possibly say that? How could you be saying this out loud? You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know about the cases." And I said, "Brian, name one person who was pardoned that shouldn't have been and what crime they committed." And he wasn't able to. No one was able to, obviously, because they don't know about this particular cases. The only difference is when they don't know about the particular cases, they just talk out of their ass and pretend like they do. When I don't know about a particular case, I go, "Look, I know about the Eugene E. Carroll case. I know that it was on weak evidence. I know that this was the evidence. As far as the other cases, I can't speak on them as I'm not familiar. But given this was the most credible one that he was found liable for, I found the arguments to be very weak." And he says, "How do you not know about the other ones?" Where if I ask him, "Oh, name the women that you're saying accuse him," he wouldn't be able to. He just wouldn't be able to.
Why would you vote for somebody if you didn't even look into that stuff?
Okay, no, I did look into it, cursory glance.
So you
and
did.
if what you're saying is true, I've definitely looked into it more than 90% of voters.
Okay.
So
That's sad.
If we
That's
wanna,
sad to hear
yeah,
that.
I mean, if you want to say we should just abolish democracy and let like the technocrats be the ones.
The
voting
person
that
who
first
wants to
week.
abolish democracy appears to be Donald Trump, right? He's still lying about the 2020
For
election.
the sake of time, let's table that. Because
Okay.
we can talk about that.
Fair
forever.
enough,
And I
fair
don't
enough.
agree with his comments on the 2020
Fair
election,
enough.
his continued statement. You know, remember that clip?
I
where,
respect that.
It was a 2020 election, and the monkey played at the end, and it was.
So I go out of my way to be kind to Brian here because I do a lot of tabling at the UC Berkeley campus, and I actually do like to change minds. So I have a few methods of like trying to be nice. So what I do with Brian here is I talk about something that Trump did and how it's kind of funny and how it's kind of misleading as well. But notice like his tone versus mine. Like, look at how much harder I'm trying to be nice to him and have him listen to me than he is to myself. Like, look at this interaction.
His continued statement. You know, remember that clip?
I
where,
respect that.
It was a 2020 election, and the monkey played at the end, and it was
Yes,
Obama.
yes.
But there was a bunch of other.
That was wrong, right? He shouldn't have done that.
There was other candidates who weren't black who were depicted as monkeys.
Agree, but that was wrong, though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And
He
it was an
shouldn't have done
accident.
that. He shouldn't have
said
done
an
that. What about when
accident.
Robert Mueller died and he said, "I'm glad he's dead"? That was
Disgusting
wrong.
statement.
Thank you,
Disgusting
Rob Reiner.
But regardless, you know, the biggest problem with that Obama monkey clip.
So I'm here and I'm going, oh, look, you know, there was this Obama monkey clip and, you know, it was funny. And here's why it wasn't exactly wrong for the reason people thought. The reason it was wrong, and I say right here.
Yeah. All the other Democrat monkeys. It was actually that it was a pro-2020 election was stolen video. That's the part that pissed me off the most.
Oh, I didn't.
So I don't think the 2020 election was stolen. And I said that video was about how the 2020 election was stolen. And I didn't like that. And I'm trying to be personable and like find common ground so that we have somewhere to jump from. But Brian just goes, what about Robert Mueller? Oh, what about Rob Reiner? Oh yeah, and it's like, dude, just talk with me. We're both people. My IQ's above 60. Like, you don't have to just talk down at me every single sentence. Like, let's have a conversation.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, that's what the video.
I just
was.
caught the fact that he depicted.
So mind you, there another time where I could have just made fun of him because he's saying that video was disgusting. That video was awful, and he didn't even know what the video was about. He didn't even know. He says, why did he depict Obama as a monkey? He depicted other politicians as monkeys as well, who are white. Oh, well, I didn't know that. And that's a place where I could have been, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about? You didn't know that? But I don't. I respond with kindness. Yeah, no, he depicted other politicians as monkeys who were not black. It was not making fun of Obama's race. It was just calling a few Democrats monkeys because they're stupid. Which, you know, you could say, our president shouldn't be so crude, but just spreading disinformation doesn't sit very well with me.
Two black people as monkeys, which I think
Yeah, but he's also depicted white people as monkeys in that same video.
Okay, but yeah, I think it's wrong, and I think you would agree with me that, you know, whether it's Charlie Kirk, when I was doing my show and Charlie Kirk was brutally murdered, I disagreed with Charlie Kirk. I don't like Charlie Kirk. I'm not going to celebrate his life. But what happened to him is awful.
Yeah,
he didn't deserve that, okay? But I don't hear a lot of MAGA Republicans or Donald Trump, the leader of the country, making those same statements when Democrats die.
Strongly disagree. You know, like just.
You disagree with him.
Everyone from Ben Shapiro to Nick Fuentes, you know, the entire political right has pretty universally come out and said that what Trump said about Robert Mueller was disgusting. What Trump said about, I forget the director's name.
That's not enough.
They all came out and they said it was disgusting.
But they still support him.
No, okay, and so here's the premise. You know, I said that I disagreed with you on the premise, and I'll make a more tame example. I'll even put Trump against Hitler. Let's say you had to vote for.
Well, I don't like to do that.
Well, I'm not comparing.
I think he's a dictator.
It's for a thought exercise.
Okay.
If we were to say Hitler or Donald Trump, who would you likely vote for in an election? Probably Donald Trump, right?
That would be a really horrible decision.
Can you answer that question?
Okay,
Yeah,
I will explain it. But
I love he can't even answer, would you rather vote for Hitler or Donald Trump? He's like, I have to pick one. That is a really terrible question. Oh, gee. Like, even that is too difficult for Brian.
The point is that when you go to the ballot box to vote for somebody, you're voting, first of all, on foreign policy. People's lives are literally on the line. Domestic policy, people's ability to feed themselves is on the line.
But hold on. Let's go with that premise.
Yeah.
You just said people, their lives are on the line, which I agree with, and feeding people. What's in the big and beautiful bill?
So we'll get to that, but I swear.
We're gonna get another one.
More than anything to talk to you about the big beautiful bill.
Fine.
Oh wait, he definitely had
for that
a
conversation.
Fine. And the war in
But just
Iran.
the premise more generally
Yeah.
is
I'd also like to add here, we did a debate follow-up. I know significantly more about him, about the big beautiful bill and the Iran bill, like many, many times more.
if I had a vote between Hitler or Obama, but Obama is.
Yeah, but why
racist,
even ask
I'm
that
voting-
question?
Because I'm saying I don't think that you vote for
Kamala
candidates
Harris
based on the.
Remember, he said, I can do thought experiments. Why are you asking this question? The reason he's not answering is because he knows it's going to lead to his downfall at some point. But he can't see how exactly that's going to happen because he doesn't know where I'm going.
Quality of their character. You vote for the candidate that you think will do the better
so
job.
first of all, there are people who vote for different reasons. Here's why I disagree with you. I didn't vote Now, you might think I'm a liberal, right? You might assume that I'm a Democrat, I'm a liberal?
No,
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Let me tell you why I think you're wrong.
It's a leftist campus. So
Understood. Let me tell you, in my opinion, why I disagree with you. I did not vote for Obama or Hillary.
Okay.
I didn't vote for
Is he
Obama
gonna say
not
he's a
because I
registered
didn't like the
independent?
guy, but because I respected John McCain because he's a decent man who served this country. By the way, the guy who you voted for said he didn't respect him because he was captured.
Yeah,
Mitt Romney.
Terrible statement as well.
Thank you. Mitt Romney. And by the way, most Republicans won't admit what you're admitting
But
to
most
me.
Democrats won't admit the same thing
because you recognize that that's not enough. You continue to say that, oh, when he wheels the death of Robert Mueller, it's a
God, this kid is the bane of my existence. I severely doubt he's going to see this. David, if you want to do a debate, reach out to me. You keep saying that I'm scared to do debates online. I'm not scared. I would love to. I reached out to UNF America so they could set it up. Hasn't happened, and I'll send a follow-up soon. But yeah.
a tragedy. You should never do that. That's disqualifying. When you
No,
say
no, certainly
of course
not.
it is.
Certainly
When
not
the president of the
disqualifying.
United States
No.
is saying that he's
But
glad
think about-
that a service member, an FBI
If Trump-
director,
if Trump didn't
a
say that-
registered Republican is fucking dead because he won't be able to hurt the world anymore, that is a disqualifying statement.
So let me
And
ask you a
character does play
question.
big role,
If
because
Trump-
character determines policy.
If Trump didn't say those things, I know, crazy fantasy land we're living in. If Trump didn't say those things, and
Again, I'm trying to like get them to actually listen to me. I say, imagine Trump didn't say these horrendous things. Crazy fantasy world, I know, because I'm trying to just be friendly so that way they're willing to listen.
Kamala did say something similar to
She
I'm
didn't.
not voting for
once.
Kamala
She
Who
Harris.
would
didn't.
vote for Donald Trump?
I would not vote for
I vote for
I'm
either of
saying-
them. So
I'm
that's
saying-
the whole point I'm trying to make to you right
the
now.
point- so I guess I would disagree with your voting philosophy. If I needed a candidate,
So where's
that I
your
thought-
where's your parameter? Let's just say
I vote for the best candidate.
Hold on.
100%.
Hold on. Let me ask you a question. If Donald Trump was seen on video molesting a child, and we rewind back to 2024, he's seen on video molesting a child, would you vote for Kamala Harris or Donald Trump?
I would vote. Okay, and that's a great question, and this is an inconsistency. I personally would feel a little bit too uncomfortable doing that, but that it goes against my voting philosophy. I would always say that you should vote for the candidate
Who would you
going
vote
to do
for?
the best job.
He's not answering.
In that question, who would you vote for?
I would not vote, but that's a bad thing. I should go out and vote for Donald Trump in that example.
So if
See, more than willing to immediately answer the question. It would hurt me too much personally to do it. I wouldn't be able to bring myself to it, but people should still vote for Donald Trump because you should always vote for the candidate who's going to do the least harm because people's lives are on the line. And we don't just principally deny people their lives because we have greater moral values than that.
he's seen, okay, so
No,
you
well, but this also calls into something else.
so
into
you
question.
do have a line that you wouldn't cross.
no,
You wouldn't
because-
vote for a child molester,
No,
correct?
I'm going to explain. So,
he said
so
he
the
just
reason,
should. He
no,
said
so
he
the
should,
reason,
right?
no, there is a reason that it's different. So, if you want to say Donald Trump said these bad things, and that points to him being in worse character, which would make a worse president, that is a sound argument to say, well, if he's a radical.
God, you know, I hate to do the ad hominem. Can you guys hear that Brian's out of breath right now? Hold on, listen.
In worse character, which would make a worse president. That is a sound argument to say, well, if he's erratic enough to molest
That's kind of funny, isn't it? You can hear him like struggling for air.
a 6-year-old, who's to say he's not erratic enough to launch a nuke at North Korea or China, right?
Well, he tried to do
That's-
that last week.
that's-
Are you aware that he tried to?
He did not try to launch a nuke.
There are reports everywhere, even right-wing media, saying that he asked for the nuke codes last week. Do you realize last week he threatened an entire civilization? He tweeted it out on Truth Social. Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I actually am comfortable with that statement that he made about
Threatening to take out an entire civilization?
Million people.
90. So
I know you're
what-
not comfortable
what was
with
the
that.
No, what was the entire tweet and what did it say?
The
'Cause you guys-
entire
Power
tweet.
plant and bridge day.
Yeah, it's Power Plant and Bridge Day, and he threatened to take out, quote, the entire
And then what did he say? after?
civilization. That was
say after?
that was the truth.
Pull up the tweet.
Okay,
Or
but-
do you want me to pull it up?
You have it verbatim. I'm really curious to see
I'm
how
shocked
you
that you're defending that tweet.
It's actually incredibly easy to dig yourself out of this one. He goes on to talk. I'll just say he goes on to talk about how they'll build a new civilization, which implies that there's still going to be people in the
But
region.
Yeah, so this is another place where I could have just Brian, you're so stupid. He literally talked about there being people in the rest of his tweet. You're such an idiot. And notice, that's exactly what they're doing to me. Oh, wow. Can't believe you said that. How are you going to dig yourself out of this one, MAGA? How are you going to do that? And it's like, I am just not matching their hostility at all, even though they keep saying things that are like measurably more stupid than what I'm saying.
threatened
He's
to
talking-
take out the
yes,
entire
He's
civilization.
no, but he's not talking about killing every single person in Iran.
Then why would he
He's
say
talking
that?
about- What would be the strategic advantage
he
to killing
referring to?
every single person?
It's
in Iran?
not about, first of all, let me ask you about strategic advantage. We'll
Why not?
agree to disagree on that. Let's ask about,
He's talking about destroying an evil civilization.
what has he
That's-
accomplished in Iran right now? What has he accomplished?
And notice, the second he doesn't like where it's going, he immediately Sorry, he immediately jumped ship to something.
Besides killing a few bad people, what else?
Killing a few bad people.
Yeah.
He's completely disabled the air defense systems in Iran.
No, he hasn't.
Really?
No, he hasn't.
Really? So
There's-
American ships are not perfectly capable of flying.
There are
over
people-
Iranian
Iran
airspace.
just finished striking.
They
seized two boats.
just struck 2 boats yesterday.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. So
Can someone tell Brian that a boat is not part of air defenses? That a boat is not part of your defense of your own skyline?
Iranian. So do you know what airspace? So airspace.
Our pilot was just shot out of the sky.
Brian, believe it or not, air is up here, bro. Oh shoot, air is up here. Ground is here. Water's usually a little bit lower in elevation. I'm glad that I was able to let him know that. Sometimes you need that UC Berkeley brain to make it clear what exactly air defenses means.
Weeks
No,
ago.
but their missile defense system has been completely decimated.
But according
the
to
number
who?
of casualties that
I
have happened.
thought we obliterated them 8 months ago, didn't we? Isn't
No,
the guy?
No. We
That was
obliterated
that
Fort
was
on their
their nuclear
centrifuge.
capacity. Donald Trump is saying they have no navy, they have no air force, they have no government. That we essentially affect.
Do you guys think we're losing the war in Iran right now?
I think we're losing.
Absolutely. Here's why. It's the Strait of Hormuz.
This is going to age very
The Strait.
poorly.
Okay. Well, I think.
Wait, I'll be honest, y'all, but it still doesn't mean we're losing the war. We're still militarily winning. It's just the concessions that we're making.
You supporting Donald Trump is aging very poorly, but again, we can talk about the economy. But the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Donald Trump said it was going to open.
The Iranians
Donald
lied,
Trump said
as
there
I
would.
suspected.
Donald Trump said there'd be a regime change. He said the people in there now are smarter and less radical. That is 100% not true. You have his son in power. They're more radical.
So yes, the current leadership in Iran it depends. The people who hold the power are more radical or a little bit less radical. We haven't made a difference yet. But the idea is if we weaken the regime to a certain point, that the Iranian people who still are wildly anti the Iranian regime and significantly
Well,
more favorable of
I
American
disagree.
and Israeli foreign influence.
I disagree with you. When was the last time we got into an ill-advised war? Who was the last person who got us into an ill-advised war? Was it a Democrat?
Okay, so I don't particularly think it's useful to jump to another international armed conflict.
No, I'm trying to make the case.
So at this point, I'm really frustrated with Brian jumping around every time it's clear I know more than he does. And so he does this here to try to talk about the Iraq war. And so I just try to stop him in his tracks. Look, I'm not exactly sure it's going to be productive to talk about another war when we're not even done with the Iran war.
That Republicans take away government assistance, Medicaid, healthcare, because they claim we're in debt, right? We're in deep debt.
I don't want to jump points.
But hold on.
So
This is about Iran. This is about Iran.
Yeah.
But yet we take away healthcare away from people. We take government assistance away.
Who lost
this
healthcare?
war is 20 million Americans that are on Medicaid have
So
lost
what in the
Medicaid.
Big Beautiful Bill made people lose their
Changes in
healthcare?
criteria.
Yes.
What were the changes in criteria?
Yeah, but hold on. Let me just quickly make my point. This war is costing us $2 billion.
See, he throws out so much stuff and doesn't let you respond to any of it, like at all. And when I went into my debate with him, my real debate, I just decided I wasn't going to be so overly kind to him because we would never get anywhere if I did. And so here you can just see that I have the patience of like a saint. Like I'm just sitting there. Okay, Brian. Yes. Can I please address this? No. Can I please address this? No. You want to address this? Okay, fine. We can address that. And I'm trying so hard to be patient because I'm actually trying to get somewhere with him. Next time I debated him, I just was like, nope, we're literally going to win the audience. That was 100% my plan. And here I was actually just trying to have some productive conversation with Brian. Somebody asked me, Miguel, where are you currently with the whole Iran situation? So with the Iran situation, I pretty much stand where I have the entire time. I think that we were right to strike in Iran. I think it was entirely necessary. I don't think that there was any other option. I think it was because of Obama's disastrous nuclear deal. And what I think is happening right now is massively unfortunate because it looks like Trump is approaching to do something similar to a nuclear deal, which would enable this whole catastrophe to have to go down again in a few more years from now. And so I really hope Trump steps down from this terrible MOU. It seems like no final deal is going to come through anyway, with Iran telling Hezbollah to launch attacks on Israel and Israel responding to the attacks, as obviously they would do. So yeah, I just think that they need to, not sign terrible deals, and we need to be willing to go to war, and we need to be comfortable with high oil prices when it's necessary, because right now Trump seems to be acting the coward in the same way that Obama did, in the same way that put us into this situation, and it'll certainly put us back into it later if we do it again.
billion a day. So according to Republicans, we don't have money to take care of the neediest people in this country, but yet we can go to war and spend $2 billion a day.
Certainly not. So what were the criteria changes that led to the majority of...
You want to answer that? Go ahead.
Requiring individuals to work, what is it, 80 hours in the span of a month?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Get a job.
Yep.
Does a job determine an individual's value
Get a
and their
job.
right to live?
No, but it determines the benefits that they receive from the
So
government.
if we have the capacity...
You don't have a
with-
right
with
to
the
health care. The
largest-
right to health care is not real.
Well, no, hold on. What do you mean
There is
a
no right to
exists.
healthcare.
Rights
There
exist
is no
regardless
right
of
to
whether or not
healthcare.
they're part of the Constitution.
No.
Yeah.
Right to health care is not a right.
The government ought to ensure
That's
that
not what a right
everybody
is.
lives.
That's not what a
Those
right is.
positive
So we
negative
shouldn't help
rights.
people that are struggling in this country?
Wait. What do you mean
Yeah.
that's not what a right is? That could be a positive right. You recognize that, right? Things that
No,
the government
I
should do.
disagree with the right framework that you're illustrating.
The
out
idea,
there.
okay, so
The ideally,
you
a
prefer to
certain
live in a
inalienable
country-
rights before God is not compatible with
You
universal
prefer to live in a country where individuals die on the streets, they don't have access to healthcare, they're forced to fucking work because they need access to healthcare, instead of, I don't know, using the money that we get from American taxpayers to fund these programs, to ensure that people have full bellies, instead of requesting $1.5 fucking trillion for fiscal year 2027 to go to war in Iran. That's the world you'd rather live in?
Yeah, so if you make the active decision to not work a job, you should not receive government
Okay,
benefits.
individuals that make up the portion of recipients that are
Hold
not
on,
working
can I
jobs,
just
who are
say-
these people?
Who are they?
You don't know.
Who are they?
So you don't know.
No, let's hear it.
They're
Who are they?
old.
They're old.
They're old. They're
Really?
young. Yes.
So again, right here, he says something absolutely stupid, and I could clown him for it. And I'll point out what the stupid thing is here, but I'm just so much nicer than I should have been.
Hold on.
50s.
No, stop, pause here. No,
Stats, I
people.
can bring 'em up.
No. People, the Big Beautiful Bill specifically carves out disability and elderly people from the
Elderly is what age and over?
65.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
work till you're 65 or disabled.
And the amount of people that are
Yeah, exactly.
the amount of people
wholeheartedly, I
the amount of
believe that.
people that are working in this country.
So he says, oh, well, it's elderly people. Elderly people won't be getting their health care. No, elderly people, literally in the Big Beautiful Bill, it says that they will still get their health care. And like, I'm just, look, like
So
I'm
how
not
many of those
clowning him
people
for it
can
the way
afford
he did.
health care? People that are working, like you said.
These figures are not.
Oh, the figures. You know why you say they're not reliable? Because it,
Well, the reason he's out of breath, to everyone, he's saying, how is he out of breath? He's standing still. It's because he's spurging out on a 20-year-old. Like, of course he's going to be out of breath. His cortisol's through the roof. He's the same color as a tomato, and he's freaking out.
Because I've looked at them.
Hold
and
on,
I know
hold
the
on.
economics that go
right.
behind
So
them.
so they're wrong. All these people.
How is it calculated?
The labor. Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
hold
How's it
on. Let me
calculated?
give you the
don't-
stats
okay,
first.
Let's hear it.
Everybody in this country that is working, 49% of them aren't even offered health. I'm sorry, 36% aren't offered health care benefits. Of the people in this country that are working, that are offered benefits, 49% of them can't afford it. Now, I think it's very convenient when you say, from the labor statistics that are put out there, when you say, well, I don't believe in those statistics. Those are the statistics that we have.
So I think they're being used in a misleading way. So
Well, of course, because it doesn't fit your narrative.
No, not because it doesn't fit my narrative. The average American is the wealthiest that they've ever been in the history of world history.
Right now?
Yes. Yes.
What does that have to do with people that are working, though?
More people can afford healthcare now than ever before. Obamacare doubled the cost of healthcare.
Wait.
In the past.
More people can afford healthcare now than ever. Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
As you know, the guy who you voted for has been against Obamacare for 10 years.
Yes.
In 10 years,
Which you would agree drastically inflated the cost.
We'll get
of
to
healthcare.
that. In 10
Do you
years.
agree with that?
Hold on. We'll
I
get
think
to
that's
that.
a first A priority.
We'll get to that.
Did Obamacare double the cost of healthcare?
I
Yes
think
or no?
Obamacare saved a lot of lives, and I'll get
And
to
it
that.
also doubled
But
the
hold
cost
on.
of healthcare.
The reason why I'm bringing this up is this. Can you please tell me what Donald Trump's healthcare plan is? He's had 10 years to come up
Yeah.
with it.
So
Concepts of a plan.
yeah. No. So Donald Trump has removed the.
So again, he asked a question here, and I have the answer, and they're still off to the side mocking me for no reason, literally just to be rude.
the payer mandate. So
That's not a healthcare plan.
Yes, certainly.
What is the
Part of
plan?
healthcare
What is the
plan.
replacement plan?
What's the replacement plan?
Yeah, what is
I'm
it?
describing it to you. He's
So he
removed-
does have a replacement plan.
No, not an entire replacement. To
He
dismantle
said
the entire healthcare
in the
system.
first administration, he said his health care plan was coming in 2 weeks, then
And
a
it's
month.
already better than Obamacare was
What is
by
the-
removing
what-
the payer mandate. I'm telling you.
He
what it
doesn't
is.
have a health care plan.
He
What are you
removed
talking
the
about?
payer mandate.
At this point, I was genuinely thinking, is this man like grown senile? Is he deaf? Like, what's going on? Why can he not hear me? What's his plan to remove the single payer mandate? He did that, and it was really good, and it worked. And a bunch of policy experts said that it would cause all of healthcare to come to a stop and completely fail, but it worked. And he's like, what?
That's not a health
Which is
care
the
plan.
worst part of Obamacare.
That's not a health care plan. He kept
How is that
saying
not a healthcare plan?
because he said a replacement plan was coming in 2 weeks. Do you remember Kayleigh McEnany when she gave him that big binder in an interview he did in his first
So
administration?
you would agree that Trump has amended Obamacare in some positive ways?
No, I wouldn't.
So you don't think the single payer mandate? Why don't you agree with that?
Here's why. Because first of all, here's why I disagree with what Donald Trump has done. And
Not in that. In some ways, he's improved.
I disagree with you.
Okay,
so
here's
why.
Why do you disagree with the tax?
Here's why.
So he can't even. This is. I didn't realize this till Cool said it, but he is physically incapable of crediting Trump for something. It's like he's allergic to it. I'm not even asking him to give up a whole lot. I'm just saying, look. Do you agree that it was good for Trump to remove the single payer mandate? No, never. Let me tell you exactly why. And he names a bunch of other stuff that has nothing to do with the mandate. And then he's like, well, I don't agree. And I'm like, no, not on net. Just this one very specific thing. No, never. How could I agree with somebody found guilty and sexually liable of graping a woman? Like,
why? Well, first of all, his executive orders that he signed on day one. I happen to be a juvenile diabetic, and I know a lot of diabetics. Under Joe Biden, under Plan B and Plan D in their plan, they were able to get capped insulin at $35. Do you know what Donald Trump did on day one? Do you know what executive order he signed?
What did he sign?
The same order that he put together in the first administration.
I'll say price ceilings, price caps are bad, but protection of intellectual property is also bad. And
what does intellectual property have to do with people getting insulin that need to be alive?
There's no way that Brian is this like under a rock, that he has no idea how intellectual property affects insulin prices. Like if somebody owns the patent to insulin and then they artificially restrict supply because for some reason the federal government decided you could own the process to make something. How do you own the process to make something? This is genuinely, I say, I don't think patents should exist. And people get so mad at me for saying that, but it's like, I can't just mix stuff in a bowl and then just be like, I own the act of mixing it? No, you can't own the act of doing something. That's ridiculous. And Bryce Shap is, what does that have to do with insulin prices? Literally everything? Have you heard of people who own patents on critical medications and don't distribute them? Obviously that shouldn't be allowed.
Both the Democrat
and obviously that has something to do with the price of insulin.
And Republican being bad at policy.
I'm telling you, Donald Trump, millions of Americans can't afford insulin.
Yes, patent laws.
It's bad. It's wrong.
Because of patent laws, yes.
Listen, Donald Trump signed that executive order on day one, and it wasn't because of patented laws. It's because he's an asshole.
No, it's because. Okay? Why is insulin so expensive when it's so cheap to produce?
Well, first of all, Joe Biden capped insulin at $35. Are you aware of that?
Price ceilings are never a good thing.
Joe Biden capped insulin at $35. Literally, millions of Americans were able to get insulin capped at $35 a month. Do you realize how?
I'm aware. I'm saying price ceilings are never a good thing. They do not work.
Well, I disagree with you. He's taken millions of Americans.
Well, I know them. I know the.
Hey guys. John Paul is back. I'm going to switch over to having him on here as well. This is going to be awesome. Do I have to turn this off and on? Sorry, guys. I'm still new to the whole streaming thing. I'm not very good at it. JP, you want to turn your camera on?
Yeah, I got it.
There we go.
There we go.
I think you should be here. Where are you? Uh-oh. Sorry, guys. Oh, no. My viewer retention. It's happening all over again. I am not good at my job. This is terrible. How do I make this come back? Is this going to bring it back? Discord. Why is Discord not working? That is myself. That is a second picture of myself. I'm going to have to redo this real quick, probably. Here we go. Nope, refusing to work. All right, y'all. Sorry. I'm going to take a second. I'm going to play this video for y'all. And then I'm going to come back when it's working. And JP's also going to be here. It should take less than a minute. Until then, thank you. Here you go. We'll leave you with the Bryce Shap brain rot.
The econ behind it.
I find it interesting that you just quickly 20 seconds. I find it interesting that you know the econ behind this, but the guy who you voted for, you don't know anything about his sexual abuse.
No, I do.
It's a
I don't buy the
joke.
cases. I don't buy the cases of the sexual abuse. Look, here's what I'm saying.
All of a sudden, you don't know about that.
Here's what I'm going to say.
You say you don't buy the cases, even though you're not well read on that. Is that antithetical to critical thinking?
No. So let me finish speaking for a second here. So what I believe wholeheartedly is that these cases are not true. I don't know them well enough to debate you on it right now.
But how can you believe they're not?
How do you know they're not true and you don't fucking know anything about it?
I'm not saying I don't know anything about it.
You just said
I know
that. You literally just said you don't know.
I'm saying that there's policy issues that I'm.
Did he not just say that? I'm sorry, I'm trying to be respectful. Do you know about the 25 women? Do you know anything about these women that have accused him of
Some of them I don't know any. I'll be honest. Some of them I don't know anything about.
So do you believe them
but
or not?
The large cases I know bits about. The fact that the cases weren't brought until decades after the fact. The cases weren't brought.
So
No,
is Bill Cosby not a rapist then? Going by your own standard.
Well, I don't know any of the evidence behind the Bill Cosby case.
But decades later.
So what is the evidence that Trump committed sexual assault?
Because women come forward decades later, that must mean that they're.
Because women come forward and there's not enough evidence to prosecute with.
Okay, so first of all,
it's two things. I think the American justice system is by and large just and fair, and I think that if Donald Trump did this, he would have been prosecuted for some of them, and something would have happened.
So there's a lot of different.
Civilly liable is different than the standard
Hold on.
law.
Let me explain something.
It does matter.
Okay, I've spoken and I've interviewed to women who have been raped by Bill Cosby. Okay,
Terrible.
I agree.
And if Trump raped anyone as well.
But I'm trying to explain to you that there are a lot of different reasons why women don't come forward.
No,
I have mostly figured this out. We just got to get John Paul enlarged here. So again, they're getting mad at me for not talking about a case that I'm not particularly familiar with. And I'm telling them what I do know about it, and they're not even able to refute that. And he gets mad at me for knowing econ. Did you hear that, JP?
I did not hear that.
Oh, that's right. You don't have audio on your end. Yeah. So he gets mad at me for knowing econ. He says, how do you know the econ, but you don't know the particulars behind every case of sexual assault that Trump has been accused of? And I'm like, because I'm not an idiot and I'm not that interested in all these fake allegations. I mean, if there was any evidence that they weren't fake, they'd probably be more popular. And the Eugenie Carroll case that I have looked into was obviously not like substantiated by any amount of evidence. And so that's what I was trying to explain to them, but they were just refusing to understand. But yeah, we're looking over this Bryce Shap stuff from when he came to Berkeley and spoke with me, and just overall how he totally made a fool of himself. Do you have anything to say on that? You were there.
Yeah, I was there. It was just insane. It's almost as if these people are living in a different alternate reality, because it's constantly that we'll give them the actual facts and details and they'll just get completely destroyed, just for lack of better phrasing. And then they say at the end of it that they won. And I can't believe it. What I can't believe is at the end of, after the meeting that they came to and hijacked, that this David guy goes, we can change your minds. We can change your minds. It's like, not if it's anything like this.
Can you guys not hear us? I feel like we shouldn't be muted. Are we muted? Sorry, someone in chat saying we're muted. Yeah, so they can hear us. Somebody said, Jordan Cooper says, this guy looks very familiar. Did he do a debate with Andrew once?
I did do a debate with Andrew Wilson. He was my debate partner, and we debated against the soy pill on political violence.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Soy Pill is the man who just a few minutes ago said that he would rather kill, in an abortion debate, he admitted he would rather kill a newborn baby than an adult pig. So, tells you everything about the liberals that we need to know. What we should look at is actually, and I think people would enjoy this, is the UNF America footage of when they came to Berkeley and debated us. So, yeah, let's get this open here, and what people will find is that these people are actually crazy, like actually wild, and completely inappropriate. So let me get that up real quick. We have it here, and I guess we can watch John Paul's section because JP is so deserving of it. Let's see. So you'll notice that JP comes up ready to talk with facts and logic, and they literally don't want to hear any of it. So much so that they block their ears and don't let him speak. So let's go to the beginning of this interaction. Is that a right-wing Brian Shapiro? You cannot tell me. Oh, that is Brian Shapiro. Oh, perfect. Okay.
All right. Come line up at the mic.
I know the TPUSA chapter is fucking petrified. There's a reason they're not here.
That's the turning point. That's so funny that that's on their own video. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Turning
He
Point
has
is
the
Turning
44
Point is
hat.
terrified. No, he
mic.
says
I know the TPUSA chapter is fucking petrified. There's a reason we're not
TPUSA
here.
chapter is petrified, and TPUSA. You're right here. What?
Right, we have John.
Oh yeah,
TPUSA?
that's right.
We do.
I can't.
People
I'm
in your
watching it
chapter.
on the
We got
live
John
stream, by the way.
Paul.
Oh, that's
because
right.
I can't see it on the
Only
call.
one.
I respect
So-
anybody that's willing to come up here and
Such a
disagree.
brave guy.
Oh,
But yeah,
let me
that was.
actually
I
do
couldn't
this.
believe.
Sorry.
I couldn't believe
Apologies.
that he. Yeah, I actually could not believe that he did that because, and he had just debated Andrew right before, and Andrew's the vice president of the Turning Point chapter. For those of you who don't know, Andrew, his name's Andrew Holmes, not Andrew Wilson. I know we were
Yeah.
talking about Andrew Wilson, but
So they debated. They literally just debated a member of Turning Point USA. He says Turning Point USA scared to debate us, and there's somebody else in line from Turning Point USA. Funny enough, I'm in line off to the side, also a member of Turning Point USA, and he's like, they're too scared to confront us. Meanwhile, half the club is stood right there waiting for their turn to talk to him. So
By the way, that
so brave.
Yeah,
that
that's-
first guy was
and-
my vice president, by the way.
and that's after like 3 hours of them just debating you and other people nonstop.
yeah, they were
Like
debating.
they've done
us right
nothing
there.
but debate Turning Point.
Yeah.
I'm the president of the Turning Point USA
Really?
chapter here. Yes.
Okay, thank
No
you for being
disrespect.
here.
No disrespect. I
Yeah.
expect more from Berkeley students. Just saying.
Thank you for coming up here. What would you like to talk about, sir?
So I see. So of course your organization is called Unf America. So I think that there's some.
Unfuck America.
Yes, I don't cuss. Sorry. So
You don't
I think-
cuss.
I know.
Is it
I
a sin
I
to
just don't
cuss?
no, I just personally don't want to do it.
So when Donald Trump
Wait, yeah, I
cusses,
was
Okay,
about to
we-
say.
we-
Are you
we-
a Trump supporter?
Oh wait.
I'm gonna address that
Are you
right now.
guys-
What I'm
right
gonna-
there.
We
what I'm
have
gonna-
to refresh the Brian Shapiro bingo card. So let's see.
You got a bingo card when I
Yeah,
was
we got a
gone?
Brian Shapiro bingo card. Someone shared it to me. We have to erase all the markups. Let's see. What has he done already? He has already
Brought
said.
the Bible.
Where's the Bible?
Or he said, is it a sin to cuss?
Where's is that one here?
I don't know. I can't see
Oh,
it
deflect to
very
Trump.
well, so-
Deflect to Trump. He did that.
He did that, yeah. When Donald Trump cusses,
Yes, I will enlarge this. Donald Trump cusses, and we'll just continue going from here. We'll see if he says
to
anything.
discuss right now is that so I think that you guys need to also provide like a platform for me to actually like be willing to support.
You're right.
My feelings on Trump are mixed, but what I do say is that the consequences of the current economic policies of Trump's administration are greater than what it would have been under Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, we saw her propose a 25% tax on unrealized gains, an 8% increase on capital gains taxes. She was also flirting with increases for the minimum wage, and she wanted to increase the corporate tax rate, which this is a completely treacherous economic policies. All of the studies that you can see, there's an economic consensus from Johansson et al., from Arnold et al., from the OECD, that corporate tax rates among all taxes, among personal income tax, among property tax, they lead to the largest amount of economic negative growth. So and you can even see this in Canada when certain Canadian provinces increase the corporate tax rate, that it leads to high levels of negative economic growth, especially with the unrealized gains tax. The only nations that have done it did it purposely because they wanted to destroy the crypto industry, and every single European nation that's done it, a lot of them have largely gone away from that. Yeah,
So,
go ahead.
Just to address the unrealized capital gains tax, that was part of the budget proposed by Biden and Harris all 4 years. She did not run on that. That was not one of her policy positions.
That's
so-
right. It was one of her policy positions. Actually,
it-
you can look it
you
up right
cannot
now.
find it, no.
Yeah, and yeah, you're
You
right.
can't find it
You're right.
anywhere.
Actually, that was part of it. But what do you think about it? Do you think that's
well,
good?
I
at
think
all?
it would affect people who have over $100 million.
That's
so I
right. It
couldn't
would.
give a
So
shit
it's only
about
the
those
most
people.
important investors that you're affecting.
No, I
You're
couldn't
taxing
care.
income that hasn't been gained.
But hold on, I want to say
So this is just a testament to how they don't know anything about economics. Like none of them know anything about economics. And just when people say, well, it'll only affect the people who make the most, it's like, yeah, the people who invest the most, the most important investors in your economy. Oh, no. Because what they don't want Elon Musk to have $1 trillion. They'd rather him have a bunch of cash, liquid, and then only he gets to enjoy his money. Then no one else does, because that's the end goal. Make it impossible to retire yourself. And then we need Social Security. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And it's really funny how he like tried to correct me, being like, "Oh no, Kamala Harris did not run on it. It was on a bill proposed by Kamala and Biden," which actually makes it worse because we see that Biden and Harris are both trying to effectuate this policy. I believe even Gavin Newsom has been trying to implement a wealth tax, and there's just this. A lot of people on the left are trying to introduce these types of policies, and so they did the budget proposal with the unrealized gains tax, and then later she had said that she agrees and supports the proposal that she made with Biden. And so she did run on the unrealized gains tax. So he's wrong on that lens. He's right that it was part of a budget bill proposed, and that makes it worse.
Yeah.
As far as your Kamala would have been worse, we know Trump is bad already. We've seen unemployment go up. We've seen GDP go down.
Wait, hold on.
GDP
So yeah, on this unemployment point, unemployment rate was below the natural rate of unemployment during Biden's administration. If you don't know this, economics agreed that it should be around 4 to 5%. It was constantly around 3%.
But
I think what you're talking about here is that under Trump's administration last year, in around November or so, it increased by 0.3% from 4.3 to 4.6, still within the natural unemployment rate.
That's not an argument.
Wait, let me explain. It did so because of the labor and still within the participation rate increasing.
Let him respond.
Sure, go ahead.
Again, it's headed in the wrong direction now because of
It's
Trump's
lowering
economic
now. It's actually
policies.
lowering.
No, it's 4.3%. It was 4% when Biden left office.
It was under 4%.
And the
It was
BLS
under the
has
natural
announced
rate.
over a
Wait, hold
million
on.
layoffs.
Question.
Over
Let me
a
just
million
ask
layoffs.
this question. Do you think that the unemployment rate, as all economists agree, should be at the natural unemployment rate?
The Federal Reserve aims to keep it below 5%. This is true, but the
4
point
to
is
5.
it's headed in the wrong direction under
It's
Trump
not.
because
It's
of
lowered from
economic policies.
4.6 to
But
4.3.
in addition to unemployment, we see GDP 2.1% last year compared to 2.8% under Biden
that's real.
in 2024.
That's real GDP. And,
We
sure.
saw 181,000 jobs created last year under Trump.
But
all in
bounce back
healthcare.
jobs from labor force
Why would you not
participation
let
rate
me
did
finish?
so. Let me explain. Let me explain.
What we see here is that they just cite numbers and they don't know what they mean. Like, especially that guy with the glasses. I think he actually knew the least of anyone there. He wasn't the meanest, but he also wasn't very intelligent or particularly kind. But he says, oh, well, unemployment was at this. And John Paul so kindly points out, that's it was below the natural rate, which is actually a bad thing. He goes, but unemployment's supposed to be low. Like, no, that's not what it's supposed to be. Like, if you don't understand that inflation being at -2 is bad, you should not be talking about economics. Because it is bad. You're not supposed to have unsuspected changes in unemployment and inflation, up or down. And the reason for that, for anyone who doesn't know, is, yeah, you've definitely seen him on Jubilee a few times, is when unemployment is too low, employers don't have anyone to hire. People are staying at jobs that they don't want to stay at, and it's not good for markets. But he just knows, well, unemployment was lower under Biden. Oh, well, inflation is at whatever percentage right now. But he doesn't actually know what any of those numbers mean. These are just numbers he researched right before coming up to argue with us. And it's just so clear that none of them there that day had any understanding of the concepts.
Yeah, exactly. And it was interesting because he was saying that the unemployment rate is trending in the wrong direction. And I called out like, no, it's not increasing. And I've heard all of these left-wing influencers say this for some reason. I especially heard it from Adam Mockler and a bunch of other guys, is they'll just say that unemployment is trending the wrong way. And it's not. Also, there's something to be said about the fact that the labor force participation rate is increasing. And so what we saw actually during Trump's administration is, I think I mentioned in the video, somewhere around November, it increased by 0.3%. And then at that same time, the labor force participation rate had also increased. Just a few months after that, the unemployment rate decreased again, back to where it was at beforehand.
Let me explain.
So
what
something very clear seems to be going on.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, the labor force participation rate, basically the unemployment rate only measures the number of people who are in the working market. And so if the number of people in the working market, people looking for jobs, goes up, unemployment can go up even if no one loses their job. So you can imagine somebody who's unemployed for 10 years, they're technically not part of the unemployment statistic, but they're part of the non-labor force participation rate. And so a lot of the labor force participation rate that we see under Trump this term is not because people are losing their jobs or can't find jobs. It's because people are finally entering back into the workforce.
Yeah, and because you can see that the unemployment rate decreased, it's probably a pretty good sign that people entered the working market and they found jobs.
Yeah, which is a good thing, but they don't know what any of that means. And, you know, like if your average voter doesn't know what that means, maybe they should. But the fact that these people coming to campuses to debate students don't know what that means is like humiliating. I don't know how as an org they could find a panel of people that knew so little and be comfortable sending them out to campuses. I wouldn't be comfortable sending my college Republicans out if that's all they knew.
Yeah, we're all of us who went up, you know, Andrew before me, you, and then me at this point, we're all 1v3ing them. So it's three guys who do this for a living, who have talk shows like Brian Shapiro, who do these debates and who get training and talk to all these influencers and prepare for things like this, or are going on tour. And they're just, we're in the middle of our studies. It's like final seasons is coming up. We're in the middle of midterms. And we just like absolutely wipe the floor with them.
Yeah.
And they just don't, they just don't understand basic thing. I'm just kind of shocked by how little they understood with how high they seem to be positioning themselves within the left-wing media apparatus.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. The labor force
It's really funny.
participation rate.
It's really funny. He's like, oh, I don't like
rate.
interruptions, and all you do is
I
interrupt.
don't think I said that. But wait, let me just say this real quick. The labor
just
force
failing.
participation rate still didn't reach.
So let's look at this here. This is like one of the biggest parts.
Unstacked jobs from labor force participation rate. Wait, hold on. The labor. Yeah, that's real. That's real GDP. And,
we saw 181,000 jobs created last year under Trump.
Wait, bounce back jobs from labor force participation rate. Wait, hold on. The labor force participation rate.
It's really funny. He's like, oh, I don't like interruptions, and all you do is interrupt.
I don't think I said that. But wait, let me just say this real quick.
So they interrupt John Paul and they don't let him talk. And then when he tries to finish talking, they're like, why are you interrupting me? Even though he's the one who was talking first.
Labor force participation rate still didn't reach the percentage that it was at.
And then they literally start going, blah, 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 blah. Like, what are we doing here, bro? These are full-grown adults arguing with their own shows, arguing with random college students. And they're just getting eviscerated while literally going, blah, blah, blah. I'm not listening, like a 6-year-old. Like, Enough America did not send their best or brightest. They need to, honestly, they should just dissolve all their speakers except for Destiny, because he's the only one who, like, doesn't humiliate himself arguing against average Republicans.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the number one thing that convinced me that Enough America are just purely bad faith actors who just have some sort of like weird grudge against Turning Point USA and just hate Donald Trump or whatever. And so they wanted to be create the Charlie Kirks of the left. And they try so hard at doing it. And they do it by having three guys who are supposed to be some of their best and some of their smartest guys out debating these people at UC Berkeley. And they just completely fail at doing it. I mean, it's
pre-COVID. So Biden got bounce back jobs from the COVID after the COVID
bounce
pandemic.
Back jobs 4 years after the pandemic, really?
Yes, it still didn't reach the point where it was at in Trump's administration.
Why did Trump only have 181,000 jobs last year, all in one industry?
I'm sorry. There's just something about the memorized numbers that really has always bothered me in debate. Like 181,000. Like, dude, 81. You couldn't just say 180,000. You're literally just over here trying to like flex that you know an extra like digit. And it's honestly the mark of a low IQ or bad faith debater when they just start like Mehdi Hassan does this all the time. Oh, well, 1.36%. It's like, dude, I'm not saying that you can't know statistics, but it's just him citing very specific numbers, which don't mean anything because the percents are what matter. But him citing very specific numbers, while also not knowing what they mean, which he demonstrated earlier, as John Paul was like, oh, well, that has to do with the labor force participation, rate going up. They don't know what the numbers mean, but they have them all memorized. And that just has always sat so poorly with me. Because I could definitely see how someone who doesn't know a whole lot could be like, well, this guy saying numbers, and not understand that John Paul's telling him what the numbers mean and he's not understanding it. And it just feels very bad faith.
Yeah. They just hate nuance and explanations for some reason. And it's kind of funny. He just searched like, oh, it's only 181,000 jobs. He just like instantly tries to make it appear as if that's a small number or something. And he's not actually taking into account as to what is happening to the American people and to the American family. When you look at the statistics, for median income households, people increase their median income by about $7,900 to like $10,000. It kind of changes depending on where you're at. But for the median income household bracket, it increased by, you can say, roughly 5%. And so that seems to be doing very well. It's definitely, real wage is increasing, and it usually tends to increase a lot more in conservative Republican administrations than it does in liberal administrations.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I don't know. How late should we keep the live stream going, JP? I have mixed feelings.
Let's ask the chat what they
Chat,
want.
how long do you guys want to
Steve.
stay? We'll keep going, but I'll stay as long as people are here, basically. Yeah. All right, let's continue.
Compared to 1.5 million under Biden
It was
in 2024.
It was
Wait,
Biden,
hold on. So
you know?
you're talking
It was
about like
Joe
people
Biden,
getting jobs.
you know?
What do you think that like the unrealized gains tax, capital gains tax, minimum wage,
So that is
corporate
a
tax
damning
increase?
non-answer. That's not an answer.
I'll answer.
Address
But
what
what do you
he's
think that's
saying.
going to do to businesses
Can I just
and
answer
employment?
that?
First of all,
Why we had anemic job growth last year compared to 1.5
Do we have a minimum wage increase? Do we have capital gains tax? Do we have unrealized gains tax? Do we have increase to corporate tax rate?
You're incapable of addressing what he said.
You guys have not addressed the corporate tax rate at all.
I can
are a
address it.
robot,
I can address
sir.
it. I can address it.
Go ahead.
I don't think corporate taxes are the most effective way at generating revenue. I tend to look at property or income taxes as the best way. But you can't show me how that absolutely destroys the producer surplus. I'm assuming you know about economics, correct?
Yeah, of course. You can see the OECD
So you know what a
study.
tariff is going to do to a fucking economy? It's going to result in
Kamala-
$1 million.
So this guy doesn't know anything. He's yelling out of his ass. He at the Turning Point meeting, he said to me, "Well, corporate taxes don't cause deadweight loss." Now, for those of you who don't know, deadweight loss happens whenever the market or whenever the government manipulates a part of the market and causes an inefficiency. Yeah, corporate taxes do cause deadweight loss, but he just said it so confidently. And he's like, "Do you even know what deadweight loss is?" Yes, I do. I explained to him what deadweight loss is, and I explained why corporate taxes also cause deadweight loss. And then it's always onto something else. Like the way that they just approach everything so dishonestly that the second you say something, they're just like, "Oh, no, shut up. Like they'll literally say that. Shut up. What really matters?" And it's just the deflections are so embarrassing.
Yeah, that's not how. If they want to really be the Charlie Kirks of the left, that's not how he handled those debates at all. Every time someone would come up, he would treat them with grace and give them a charitable representation of their argument. And so it's hilarious. And I also want to touch on the fact that in this conversation, he said, "Oh, Joe Biden had 1.5 million new jobs," as if like that's so. Something happened, of course, which is that the economy started opening back up after COVID, and which, by the way, Joe Biden should have opened it up a lot sooner and could have done it a lot better. And 1.5 million, so I was making this analysis earlier, and he was just completely ignoring it, which is the fact that the labor force participation rate was increasing because people are finally able to go back to their jobs. Surprisingly, after COVID, all the restaurants, schools, and everything that were closed down are finally opening up again in Biden's administration. And so you have all those people who were either unemployed or not a part of the labor force participation rate who are now working again. And that's exactly what happened. And I say the labor force participation rate didn't even reach the point where it was at under Donald Trump's administration before COVID. So Joe Biden didn't, he didn't rebuild it well enough to the point where it was supposed to be at.
Yeah, JP, honestly, if me and you took an IQ test, I think we might have a higher cumulative score than them. I'm going to be honest. And honestly, I'm not even glazing John Paul and I, because the math I'm thinking is if I get 100 and John Paul gets 100, what are the odds that each of these guys get above a 66? If we just score average.
Americans losing a job and the inflation rate hiking up to some of the highest fucking rates month to month over a percentage increases that we've ever seen.
Oh, we got a question. Is this going to be a regular thing? I would absolutely love to start doing this regularly. My main concern, I've been wanting to start streaming for a while. I just didn't want to stream out to no one. But honestly, like 11 viewers for a first live stream, I'm more than happy with that, honestly. Thank you guys so much for being here. Especially Mrs. D and Maz Diggs for being here the whole time. Thank you so much.
People are staying, and that's excellent. So we actually get a chat to speak with on a regular basis. I want to bring up this comment that's Mrs. D says that I can see why Enough America has failed. And yeah, 100%, because unless you've like really like chugged down the Kool-Aid, like you're not really going to be buying any of the stuff that they're doing or saying. You're not going to appreciate the way that they're conducting themselves. And the liberal students who are watching this on our campus were like, it's a shame. They're literally acting like children up there.
You can literally see it. You can't even see their faces. You can see the disappointment in their stances here. Do you see that? Or well,
Oh yeah, that's absolutely the case. So
Yeah. All right. Let's keep going.
Quite funny.
Consistently
But
at two prices.
Yeah. No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna say, like, just if you watch the clips, all they do is debate in bad faith. They cut you off. They literally will cuss you out. They will insult you. They will try to make you look evil, and they do it all with not letting you get your words out and not letting you explain your argument, not letting you add nuance. And yeah, you can see their follower count. It's pretty small, isn't it, for on the tour?
It's 308 now.
308. Okay, they have another account. I think that's like specifically for something else. That was pretty low. I know they have like a main account. Oh, MAGA Kid debunked. I think this is someone else.
Yeah, that is someone
I actually
else.
don't know that guy that was in that video.
That's Jake. Jake is he was the nice guy who pulled up. Is it? Oh, who is he debating with here? Oh, war benefits Netanyahu and Putin. Was he arguing? Yeah, that's.
It's probably arguing against me.
I think this is
You value humans over pigs, so you do value human life
Oh, yes.
uniquely.
Do
You have a unique value in human life.
and we are differing on where we
So
say
when does
life begins. This is the problem. You think it begins at conception.
No.
We don't believe that.
Oh, you don't
if
believe
I
life
believe
begins at conception.
If I believed that, then I would be upset.
I'm sorry. I thought that the conservatives were the ones who were deniers of science. When does
I believe. Well, it's clear that when God, you're so bad faith. When he's referring to
crazy thing for them to say. They called me bad faith.
life or living, it's obviously just interchangeable with the idea of capacity to deploy consciousness or personhood. But
No, it's clearly not.
No,
It's
it
not
is. It
consistent
is.
with
When you say
You're
human,
applying different rule sets to different
that's not
situations.
true. They're two completely distinct fucking species, and you can
Whoa, you said the F word.
So why do you value humans over
That's how wait, what the fuck? That was like a terrible point.
So the context for this clip is when I started speaking, he got mad at me for saying the F word. I didn't even say it. Also, I'm cool with saying the F word. I swear all the time. But he freaks out on me in the video.
It was weird. In your debate, you were talking, and then you weren't even like angry or anything. And he's like, "Oh, he's about to cuss," and that's what he said. And you're just like, "What? That's so weird." It's very interesting. And by the way, they're using an equivocation fallacy, and they're like completely talking in two different meanings of the word life. And I say that because it's very clear what the guy's answer to your question about the pig was, and then it was very clear how the answer that was followed up with was changed. So he says, "Oh, we value human life uniquely," when he's just talking about consciousness as a whole. So you say, like, what about this the comparison between the pig and the child? He just says, "Oh, we value humans uniquely," and that refers to the fact that you are human and the fact that you are a living human, and that's undeniably begins at conception. According to all science, cellular reproduction begins at conception. And so you mentioned that, and then David comes in, I'm pretty sure that's his name, and he says, "Oh no, you're so bad faith. We're talking about consciousness." And so they use it in two different ways, and they try to make it seem like they're not using it in two different ways, and they're purposely unclear with their definitions of each one. And by the way, no one, like, I've never really seen anyone use life in the way that he's talking about. He just like asserted that.
Yeah, no, and it's frustrating because they kept bailing each other out. At one point, do you mind if I skip forward, JP?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's see if we can find. We might need to put this into a transcript.
What did you just say?
When you go to sleep, you have the
Hope,
potential
don't
for
cut that one
consciousness.
out. Jesus Christ, this is a crazy blunder. Can you repeat that?
That's a whole different.
That was a crazy blunder.
Let's see.
I don't even know. You said something that was just like very basic. It wasn't like a blunder at all. I was actually kind of confused why he thought that was a blunder.
He says, where did they asked me about a single policy from Donald Trump. Let me put this into a transcript finder real quick. Yeah, so they just chimp out over literally everything. They don't know what they're talking about, and then they get mad when let me go into a YouTube transcript, and I'll find this relatively quickly. Yeah, they're just bad faith debaters, and the fact that they call me bad faith debaters, they put a video of me up on their Instagram, and they said in the Instagram,
look what they did to me in the thumbnail. Like, check, show them the thumbnail.
Let's go back. Look at that thumbnail. Like, he's crashing out the whole time. He's the one who's chimping, not them. And so they literally upload a
That's
video
unclear,
of me
by the way,
on
guys.
their
I've heard this from like two people who think that that's real. That's AI. They AI generated me to look bad. That's not a real picture. So
Yeah, they literally uploaded on their Instagram a video of me where they made my pause longer than it actually was. So it's like such.
Did they do that?
Yes.
That's so, dude. They have the complete wrong impression of what Charlie Kirk was, because I think this is what they think Charlie Kirk was. I think they think that he went up and debated students who were unprepared and purposely tried to own them, was super bad faith, would just not let them speak, interrupt over them, clip them out of context, edit the clips to make him look favorable. When that's exactly the opposite of what he did. When you check out his YouTube channel and the videos that he has, like the titles often aren't even like very strong. They're just like, it's just, should we allow due process for illegal immigrants? Will be like the title of a video, for instance. And the thumbnail is just Charlie Kirk there and then the guy there with no editing. And then you watch and it's the whole interaction, completely unedited. And then they'll post clips from those interactions into shorter forms that are well within context. And you could literally cross-reference this with every single clip. I haven't seen a clip where I'm like, this seems like it was cut weirdly or put together weirdly and edited to make Charlie Kirk look in favor. Meanwhile, they're using AI to make us look different. They're pausing for you for a longer period of time than you actually pause. They're cutting you off while you're speaking, and they're doing all these things to make themselves look good. Also, definitely taking out the context. There's many of those clips that I saw of me and you. I remembered the interaction, and I remembered that they took out a very significant portion of it where we had an explanation and where we cited some nuance, and they just want their clip where they're saying, oh, look at this MAGA kid who gets humbled. Look how angry he's getting. And it's just completely off base with reality.
Yeah, 100%.
Anything to do with the policy or the morality of abortion.
I love the emotion. Keep it up.
You say Donald Trump hasn't done anything to ban abortion. Yeah. Donald Trump hasn't done this. He appointed the justices that overruled Roe versus Wade, a campaign platform which Kamala pushed every single time that she could. Kamala Harris would always talk about the overruling of Wade. Democrats in every form of office would talk about how Republicans wanted to repeal abortion rights to pressure down on women. And I'm the one who's butthurt.
Did I not go on a moral tit for tat with you about abortion?
So he literally accuses me of being so bad faith, and then when I start like making like, what? Are we serious? This can't be like a real person. That's so embarrassing.
You talk about how Republicans wanted to repeal abortion rights to pressure down on women.
Just pretending to be asleep while I'm like talking because he can't refute what I'm saying. So he doesn't even bother interrupting. He just pretends to be unconscious. Like what a clown show of a group of people. So embarrassing.
And I'm the.
Oh. What do you think, JP?
Yeah, absolutely embarrassing that they just resort to mockery and insults. And I don't know. I want to make a video just on this, being like, how do you know when you have won? Because it's very difficult to, we're biased, right? We often want to say that this position that we agree with more was more intuitive to us in the debate, and it seems like it won. But how do you know that you actually won? And how do you know that an audience is going to look at it and think that you ended up on top? And I think it's certain things like this. When you're conducting yourself well, when you're not insulting back, when you look calm and you're cool and collected, and they're just like out there screaming, they're snoring, they're calling you bad faith, they're saying all these words and just trying to make you look evil without actually giving a point and position of their own or understanding basic philosophy.
Yeah,
it seems very clear usually to the average viewer what's going on.
This is what I meant to pull up just now.
Because he doesn't know. Stop defending.
Stop talking.
So they say, name a single policy Donald Trump has passed on abortion. And I try to repeat it repeatedly that there are no federal, fun fact for everyone in the live stream, there are no federal murder laws that apply universally. Right now, if I were to go over to John Paul's place and unalive him right now with a firearm, and Governor Newsom pardoned me, there is nothing that the federal government could do to try me because federal murder laws are not a thing because they're unconstitutional. Because the Constitution only gives Congress the ability to regulate commerce and things necessary and proper to regulating commerce. And I say that repeatedly, and this guy does not know about any of that.
And we're talking about abortion right now, guys, is because he drove by us earlier and we all fucking shit on you when we're not talking about some philosophical thing where you could dodge all these fucking points. That's the reason you're talking about Donald Trump.
I like how he's declaring victory on debates that are off camera.
Yeah, he's like, guys, I won early. The reason we're losing now is because we won earlier, because he can just duck. And he said earlier in the debate, the only reason you want to talk about abortion is because you don't have arguments for anything else. You could say that about anything.
They said that to me. They said that to me when I was debating economics against them. They're like, well, the reason why you're focusing on the economy is because you're trying to obfuscate from the fact that Donald Trump is a 34 count felon. And it's like, that's all that was Brian Shapiro. Like Brian Shapiro and everyone else, that's the only thing they know how to argue on is these like real like things that are like don't really even matter policy wise and are not going to affect the average American. And they say that you're only talking about this policy that affects millions of unborn lives or these economic policies that affect all Americans because you have no argument when it comes to anything else. And they just, like you said, they could literally just say that for anything. So next time you're in a debate, guys, if you want to win, just tell them that they're only debating that because they don't have an argument for anything else.
Yeah, it's like, what do you even say to that? The only reason we're arguing X is because you can't argue Y. It's like, am I just supposed to give up and then start arguing Y? I don't know.
Yeah, and Jorge just said something cool here. He said Trump bad man is their only argument. Like 100%. Like I don't even need to say that. Like that's all they talk about. I've not once heard them say give a policy that they like and explain like why that's a good policy.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard any position from them. That's why when I went up, I set a little trap up in the beginning by saying, you guys need to provide me like a reason to support you. Like I want to know like why I should have voted for Kamala Harris. And this is why I don't want to vote for Kamala Harris. And I think that the effects that we have now would have been much worse than it would have been under Kamala Harris. And then I cited all the policies, and instead of trying to explain the policies or defend the policies, they'll do two things. One, they'll say, well, it wouldn't have passed actually, so it doesn't really matter. And at that point, they're just hinging their core of their argument on the fact that, yeah, Kamala Harris is much worse, but, hopefully we'll just hope that it doesn't happen, whatever she wants. And then they'll just deflect it back to Trump for the second thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Abortion than Donald Trump, because Trump supports abortion all the way up until the due date.
Trump appointed the justices who overruled Roe.
Okay, I have a question. Wait, I have a question. I have a question. No, stop. No. You're not running away.
Using which part of the Constitution?
First of all, he hasn't asked his question yet. The other guy asked me a question. I start responding, and he goes, no. You're not running away from my question. It's like, dude, you haven't even asked how would I know to run away from it? You haven't asked yet, and your buddy just asked a question, and it's comical. Because at one point in this debate, I go, okay, you ask me a question, you ask me a question, you ask me a question. I'm going to answer his question first. And then the guy on the left goes, wait, why don't you want to answer my question? Dude, I don't care whose question I answer first, but you can't all ask me questions and then get mad when I don't answer one of them. Because I can't answer all of them at the same time.
No, hold on. No, stop. Congress have the right to pass a murder ban. Stop. Wait. Don't even answer the stupid fucking question.
He doesn't know.
What was
defending your buddy because he doesn't know?
I love this guy.
And this is where the 3v3 comes in. The second one of them is wrong, another one just goes, this is more important. And then you go, well, let's finish this. And they go, no. This is more important, though. Oh, you're running away? You don't want to answer this? It's like, no, I just want to finish a single conversation. Because if every time you lose, you just jump onto something else, no, we just talk in circles. We don't get anywhere.
What constitutional mechanism?
No, stop running away. You made an incredible point. Name a single
way is overturned.
Name a
federal law.
Name a single.
Using which part? Article what?
I'm not going to run away. I'm sorry. I'm not going to let this happen.
So I ask, wait, which part of the Constitution lets them pass a federal abortion ban? Article 1, 2, 3? Where is it in the Constitution? And it's not there. It's not constitutional.
Because he doesn't know. Stop defending.
Stop talking. Stop.
And I don't want to make it sound like I'm pro-choice here. We can actually, the 14th Amendment of the Constitution says that no person shall be robbed of life, liberty, and property in the United States without due process, and we can have a Supreme Court ban abortion that way. Just we can't pass a law because that wouldn't be constitutional.
Stop talking. Name a single policy Donald Trump had on abortion.
Okay.
It's a fucking dodge because you don't want to talk about all Trump's other actions.
Donald Trump appointed the justices.
So again, I say they can't pass policy. It's unconstitutional. Name a single policy. They can't pass a policy. It's unconstitutional. Name a single policy. He appointed the justices that overruled Roe versus Wade. They go, oh no, that doesn't count, bro. Are we? Are
That's
we
not a policy.
dead? Are we dead ass?
When I just want to mention this, when people say like policy, they don't necessarily mean like things that you've written into law. Like it's more so like the actions that the administration takes in like regarding some sort of topic. So it's like if we're talking about like foreign policy or something, like Donald Trump going in, like invading Iran or capturing Maduro and all this stuff, like that we would consider that foreign policy, even though there's not like, you know, we're gonna have Congress write a bill and I'm gonna sign it, like whatever, like to make these actions. And so there's that. And so we're talking about probably the biggest change in abortion policy that's happened ever since Roe v. Wade, which was the fact that Donald Trump appointed Supreme Court justice members who overturned it. And that's the most important thing that has happened recently. And that's super, super important, particularly because, like you mentioned earlier in the debate against them, Kamala Harris was always saying that she wants the law to be brought back to Roe v. Wade. And Donald Trump, of course, was against that. He was in favor of what the Supreme Court had ruled. So if we're talking about which president, like if we're talking about the presidents in regard to abortion policies, this is the biggest contentious point between the two. And it's really the only point that matters. And then they are trying to say, like, oh, Donald Trump hasn't done anything for abortion. Or like, oh, like, can you even name an abortion policy? And by the way, you probably even could have just said, like, the fact that he defunded Planned Parenthood at least a little bit.
Yeah, he did do that. But then they'd be like, Donald Trump didn't do that. Congress did that.
Congress did that.
It's like, all right, well, this is literally impossible. Yeah, no, what's the, you can't argue with an idiot? Is that Congress the expression?
Yeah.
All right, well, let me transition here.
That's not a policy.
So now, because abortion policy.
Are you gonna catch that one? Are you gonna catch that one? You better.
So he's saying that's not a policy.
Don't
That's
worry,
not a policy.
on it.
And I literally say underneath it, I say, because you cannot legally pass policy in this.
Because abortion policy.
Are you gonna catch that one? Are you gonna
Because abortion policy wouldn't be legal. And then he's like, oh, you're not naming a policy.
catch that one? You better.
And by the way, he's saying, "Are you going to catch someone?" He's pointing. I was recording it, just because we wanted to have it on film. Luckily, you know, it's on here as well, and this was better than my iPhone recording. And so he points to me and he says, "Are you going to catch someone? Are you going to catch someone?" It's like, yes, I'm going to catch the fact that you have repeatedly not understood the fact that Donald Trump can't pass a federal abortion ban, like the way that you're trying to ask for. That's absolutely ridiculous. So he's acting like it's a complete own. I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
No, you're running away from it.
Which constitutional mechanism is there to pass an abortion law?
I literally, which constitutional mechanism is there to pass an abortion law? And then he just jumped ship.
About the Constitution.
You don't. I know you don't. That's why you're here defending murder.
That's not what I said. I know you understand the human language,
Okay,
English,
how?
but again,
Which article of the Constitution?
Donald Trump.
Which branch of government has the allotted ability to ban abortion? Let me know.
Donald Trump had no abortion policy, correct?
Because you can't pass abortion policy federally.
Wait, he's exercised influence.
Whoa, by the way, Sig Heil, his thumb's tucked in and everything. You guys seeing that? Am I dreaming? Hold up. Can we find out if David, what's his name? David something? Can we see if he ever said anything about Elon Musk saluting Hitler real quick? Because if he did, we gotta hit him with some double standards here. That is a full arm extension. Thumb is tucked in. That's crazy.
So I usually don't like I'm gonna post a video on my channel later of the whole debate here. So if you guys want to watch that debate again, please don't watch it on here. Wait until like Wednesday when it comes out. And I don't usually do this. But like I'm going to like take this picture of him and I'm going to put that on the thumbnail. And it's a real picture. So the difference between them and me is that I'm not going to AI generate them looking bad, but I will include a picture that doesn't have them
chairman of the
looking very
California College
favorable.
Republicans.
Sorry, I'm just trying to remind everyone what exactly the thumbnail for this video is. It's an AI image of John Paul. Let's look at that image. It's this image of him being mad. That is not real. That never happened. That is an AI generated image. And then look at how nonchalant Jake over here. And you know what sucks is I know Jake didn't approve that, and now he's the one that's gonna look terrible because he's this guy on the right. He may have some evil opinions, but he's not a terrible person. He's incredibly nice. He's the only one
he was the nicest. He was the least bad faith by far.
Yeah.
GOP.
Anyway, so he keeps asking, We can't pass what policy, and then to even end it off, I say again.
You understand the human language,
Okay,
English?
how?
But again,
Which article of the Constitution?
Donald Trump.
Which branch of government has the allotted ability to ban abortion? Let me know.
Donald Trump had no abortion policy, correct?
Because you can't pass abortion policy federally.
Wait, he's exercised influence within the GOP to get rid of the Langford bill. He's exercised influence within the GOP to get rid of Republicans and claim that they're rhinos. If Donald Trump wants to, he can tell all the Republican states to do his bidding, which they have done on things he gives a fuck about, like redistricting. But guess what? He never talks about abortion because he doesn't give a shit. And the reason why you guys, like TPUSA, talk about it at nauseum is because you have no other arguments to defend anything the Trump administration has done. Then let's see you do it.
No, I'm going to say right now, Donald Trump is not as pro-life as he should be. I 100% believe that.
He doesn't have an issue with he doesn't have an issue with what you consider to be the genocide of fucking thousands of children. How can you support that guy?
It's not technically not genocide to be Holocaust.
Well, murder. Oh, Holocaust. Holocaust. Yeah. So you're going to vote for a guy who's like totally fucking fine with the Holocaust?
He's less okay with it than Kamala.
He doesn't have an issue with it. He doesn't talk about it at all.
He thought
when was the last time Donald Trump talked about abortion?
He thought when's the last time Kamala Harris talked about abortion?
That's not an answer, everybody.
When's the last time Kamala Harris?
So what I'm trying to do here is they just do these terrible, terrible bad faith things. When was the last time President Trump talked about abortion? I couldn't tell you the last time a single person, anyone talked about abortion. Can't tell you the last time I talked to my mom about abortion. Like, what kind of a question is that? So then I just try to immediately flip it on him. Hey, when's the last time Kamala talked about abortion? And obviously he doesn't know, because why would he know that? That's a ridiculous thing to know off the top of your head. But all of a sudden, that's a ridiculous question. Why are you even asking? Why would you want to know the last time Kamala Harris talked about abortion? Why do you keep asking me the same question? Yeah.
And I want to mention something else I think is pretty funny. And when he says, the reason why you and TPUSA talk about abortion ad nauseum is because you have no arguments when it comes to anything else. This is this is like probably in the middle of, or like middle end of the day of them just like debating us nonstop about a ton of issues. You in particular were debating them about a whole bunch of issues for hours before this. And he's like, yeah, you guys don't have any arguments when it comes to anything else. Meanwhile, we're constantly destroying them time and time again on every single issue. It's insane. I want to highlight this comment that Jorge made. He said, by the way, this is dumb because even if he could pass a policy, it doesn't matter because the other side is actively trying to make abortion legal in all cases everywhere. Exactly.
Yeah, a
so
policy just would not get through Congress.
That.
Even if he tried to get a policy through Congress, it would fail with like 30% of the votes in the House and the Senate to get through. Like, it just would not happen. And I don't think Trump is particularly pro-life, but I think he's far, far, far more pro-life than Kamala Harris. Like, I don't think that's a question. Trump supported Roe versus Wade. Harris didn't. That by itself, if Harris tried to pass a law that would overrule Roe versus Wade, would make up the difference. It's just ridiculous.
You can't answer.
Because I hear when they're talking to you, they want to make it sound like it's a non-issue, like for Republicans. Like, oh, you guys aren't actually getting what you want, so it's a non-issue. And meanwhile, we know during the campaign of Kamala Harris in 2024, that's like the only thing that she wanted to make the campaign about because they know that it drives Democrat voter turnout up. So when they're talking with us and when they're losing debates against us, it's like, oh, well, it doesn't actually matter. Let's just talk about whether or not Trump has passed a policy. Has he passed a policy? It's like, okay, in 2028, when it's like whoever Republican candidate is up, I bet you're probably not going to be saying like, oh, it's fine. We're going to drop the abortion issue because Republicans actually didn't pass a policy when it came to abortion. Like, that is just not going to be the narrative by any means. It's going to be the exact opposite. It's going to be Trump tried to take away funding from Planned Parenthood. And we saw many women not have access to abortion, and we need that. And that's what they're going to say. And it's not going to be anything like this. So it's absolutely absurd. It's just ad hoc argumentation. It's not principled in any way.
Yeah.
Answer, everybody.
When's the last time Kamala Harris talked about abortion?
Answer. You can't answer any of my
questions. Answer the same question. No, so you want to ask that question. Answer it in inverse.
Respond to questions with an answer.
You ask. So here's what you do. You come here. You ask questions that have no pertaining to do with the policy or the morality of abortion.
I love the emotion. Keep it up.
You say Donald Trump hasn't done anything to ban abortion. Yeah. Donald Trump hasn't done this.
He's saying love the emotion. I feel like even though I'm talking sternly, I'm still very level-headed in this clip for how I'm being treated. Like, incredibly so.
I 100% agree. I think you're being quite nice. There's moments where you're strong, of course, but you're not strong in a rude way. You're strong in like a very like nice and charitable way. Like almost like I saw a lot of like Charlie Kirk would be strong when he would speak, but he would also be very nice. And so that's seems like to be getting the similar energy. And it's especially like you said, in the light of the fact that there's these 3 grown men who are just like screaming at you and insulting you constantly.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, JP.
He appointed the justices that overruled Roe versus Wade, a campaign platform which Kamala pushed every single time that she could. Kamala Harris would always talk about the overruling of Wade. Democrats in every form of office would talk about how Republicans wanted to repeal abortion rights to pressure down on women. And I'm the one who's butthurt.
Did I not go on a moral tit for?
This is the hallmark of a man who is not emotional at all about the situation. He pretends to fall asleep in the middle of conversation. This is the peak of nonchalance and masculinity, is when your opponent starts finally having the opportunity to make their arguments, when you've exhausted interrupting them so much that it's no longer an option, and you hit them with the iconic what are we doing, man? I actually
Imagine if Charlie Kirk did that. Just imagine the reaction that would have gone from the left.
That post would get millions of views if Charlie Kirk started doing it. We need to clip this up and throw it into like a short form content to be like, dude, I just am in love with the caption. Mom, can we have Charlie Kirk? We have Charlie Kirk at home. And then it's just a highlight reel of them acting like idiots.
There's so many fun things we can do with this. We actually got to get the shorts up and running. We got to get our editors on it.
Yes.
Chat with you about abortion.
You did the best job.
Wait,
These two humiliated themselves.
Because I already did it. We already litigated with the person before you too, by the way.
I love their excuse.
All right,
hey, I know we were totally like super rude. We were assholes and we didn't listen to you. We constantly interrupted you. We booed you. We didn't even look at this. They booed me when I walked up. We made fun of you. We called you stupid, pretended to fall asleep. But the only reason we did that is because a few people ago, somebody wanted to talk about the same issue. So it's totally cool. Like, it's totally cool that we made total jackasses of ourselves because somebody 30 minutes ago also wanted to talk about policy when we're up here to talk about policy. Like, oh, my bad. I didn't realize when I lost my cool there for a second. I figured you guys didn't have a good reason. I didn't realize somebody else also tried to talk about probably the most important issue bipartisanly in politics. That makes sense. Yeah. That makes it all okay.
And I'm making these Charlie Kirk references because they want to be the Charlie Kirks of the left, and they're trying really hard to be. When you see the clips of Charlie Kirk, he would not boo the people who come up. And like some trans person who's like not doing a very good job would come up and would say the most vile things imaginable. And the entire audience, like if the entire audience ever went like, boo, Charlie Kirk would actively put his hand out and say, guys, give it a moment, give her a chance to speak. And he would listen to her and then he would respond and tear down the argument, basically.
Sorry, don't let me being out of focus distract you. That's my bad. All right, guys, we're struggling through.
What they're doing is the opposite.
Okay.
Do it, Miguel. I'm begging you. What is that? That's what Jorge said.
I'm so sorry to come out here. Can I just... I've never heard a pro-life...
And then this guy comes up and doesn't make a fool of himself. Amazingly, he's the only... Yeah. Him and Jake are the only ones who were sensible. Although, sadly, Jake didn't have very in-depth arguments about abortion. But we could have gotten somewhere. This man on the right would be pro-life today if these two idiots were not just cutting me off every time I tried speaking to him. It's okay. We got time. I'll shoot him a DM sometime. Let him know that I want to talk to him about abortion again. Anyway, any other videos we should watch, JP?
We can look at some of the ones like on my channel if you want to see the debate that I had with Soy Pill on political violence. I know some people were mentioning that.
Oh, yes.
I'm not sure if the Andrew Wilson fans are still in here, but we can still do it anyways.
Did you post it by chance?
I did. That's the VOD. I put like Andrew Wilson and John Paul in the title of mine.
Let's see. Will this get it perfect?
Yeah.
Arrested. Now they may release them.
Where should we go? Just from the start?
Honestly, the whole thing is fine. Yeah. I make a little
right.
compilation here at the beginning.
We have two contrasting things happening right now. We have Gavin Newsom, who, when the protests happened, said, I condemn them. It should be peaceful. And they were arrested. They were not released. They were arrested. Now, they may be released on bond, but for very
doing violent crimes against police officers.
No, I'm not done talking, Andrew. I know. I'm glad. But see, here's the crazy thing about this is, as Andrew's laughing, he doesn't realize that there's a other contrast to this, which is Donald Trump, who has not condemned, quite frankly, the Jan 6 things. And even if he did, it's contrasted by the fact that he actually pardoned them. So if he actually cared about that, and he did care about political violence on his side, then he would probably let the justice system work its way through. But we know that Donald Trump doesn't really care. In fact, he's actually called Kamala Harris a fascist.
I like the people commenting that your current hair is better than your former hair. So I just want to say, everyone, I do agree that John Paul had a nice haircut between now and then.
Just a communist, a Marxist. We've seen Stephen Miller saying the same thing, echoing the same thing. Yet I haven't heard anybody mention anything about Donald Trump saying those words, because it's okay.
Someone said, is it weird that I like soy pill? That was Jorge. What do you think, JP? I have mixed feelings on this.
It depends what you mean by you like soy pill. If it means that like you enjoy his views and his the videos that he puts out, well, maybe not even that, but like just if you enjoy his views, that's probably weird, especially if you watched the live stream earlier, like when we first started. But if you like him as like a person, that's honestly like I like him a lot more than a lot of liberal people and a lot of people you see on the left. He's nice when he talks to me, at least. His videos are well made, and most of the time they're pretty well researched. And so that provides, like a nice video essays that you could go in and watch. And so he's like absolutely not one of the worst bad actors on the left. I don't even think I would call him a bad faith actor. He genuinely tries a lot of the time, and he does, do his research, and he comes in with an argument that you have to be prepared to handle. So
yeah,
I think his videos are funny. He is funny. He is funny.
His videos. Yeah. 100%. No, I think, it's conflicting because I do really like him. I can't even say as a person because some of his views are so evil, but he's a fun guy to talk to. Like the times that I've spoken to him. And also, like, what do you need to know about the guy? He walks everywhere with that little propeller hat. I think that's all you need to know what kind of guy he is. So he's like a real good time. He's fun, and he's like really nice to the conservatives in a way that the rest of the people at UNF America aren't necessarily. Aside from Jake. Jake's the GOAT. He was super, super nice. But yeah, all right. Let's continue watching.
When the right does it, but when the left does it, somehow now it's all sorts of crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
So you have
There's lots of lies. There's lots of lies there. I mean, first
totally.
Where's the lies?
You said he didn't condemn it. January 7th, he released a statement saying, "I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack on the United States Capitol. Like all Americans, I am outraged by the violence, lawlessness, and mayhem.
So outraged
I immediately deployed the National Guard."
I thought he didn't condemn him 5 seconds ago, you lying gutless fuck.
Both of you.
I like the contrast here of debating styles between you and Andrew. Is you're like, well, this is really strange considering the fact that... And Andrew's like, you lying callous fuck! What happened? It's like, Andrew... Come on, let my boy John Paul cook a little bit. Let him have a little time to do well. Oh my goodness, is that I feel like I shouldn't dox you because I think I know who that is in the chat. But yes, that is Miguel. Hey, Miguel A. Muniz. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube here, obviously. Drop a subscribe. Yeah, we're live streaming now. This is the first live ever. But yeah, I think there's a big contrast between yourself and Andrew, and I think. To be honest, I think he shafted you of your clip here. I think he could have gotten something really good for Instagram if he just held his tongue a little bit.
I got something better later on. Just watch.
Oh, okay.
I don't call it condemning if he ends up I don't call it condemning if he ends up after the fact pardoning.
Okay, do you know how much violence actually was on January 6th? Do you know how much violence actually was there?
There was probably, I think there was over 100 people that were charged. There was about 170 people charged with assaulting a law enforcement officer.
Were any of them charged with insurrection, fuckhead?
60.
Nope, no, none of them were charged with insurrection, fuckhead. Not a single one.
170 people were charged with assaulting.
Were there any of them charged with insurrection?
Andrew, you're boxing shadows right now. No one's talking about insurrection.
Yes, that's what you guys just said. You just said it was a seditious insurrection 5 seconds ago.
No, it's a seditious conspiracy. That's not the same thing.
Oh, so it wasn't an insurrection?
I said it was seditious.
So what?
I love that he's not answering the question because Soypill does think it was an insurrection. He's like, no one said it was an insurrection. Do you think it's an insurrection? I didn't say I think it's an insurrection. Oh my god.
Just want to be clear then, it wasn't an insurrection?
I'd say that any
I
definition
don't know what
that I
this has
use
to do with
insurrection,
any of the
you want
I
me
just want to
answer?
make sure
Don't
that
say
we're
no.
clear.
I want to make
Was
sure
it an
this has nothing to
insurrection
do
or
with
not?
conversation.
Was it
Nah,
an
it was a
ins-
seditious
This
conspiracy.
has
Okay.
nothing to do with
So it wasn't an
Right.
insurrection.
There's
Got it.
nothing. There's
This
nothing
has nothing to do with
inconsistent
conversation.
about this. You can completely condemn the violence that occurred, which
And then
Donald
pardon them
Trump did,
afterwards? Yeah, that makes a lot
and
of
you can
sense. That makes a
pardon
That
lot of
sounds
sense.
like a
people
dog
who
whistle to me,
believe.
John. I don't know.
No,
I mean,
Yeah, it sounds like a
he's
dog whistle.
speaking out of both
If you
sides of his
believe they
mouth.
should
On
be
one side,
pardoned,
he
if you
said
believe they
condemn.
should
On
be
the other side, he
pardoned.
said you
Well,
got
how-
Dude, we need to find a way to make it so it when Soy Pill like gets riled up, his propeller starts spinning. That'd be really cool. Can you imagine? He just like takes off midstream, flies away.
We can just AI that, yeah.
Who said? Okay, someone said, "Don't take it personally." Andrew will take over every debate he's in. Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
And
No,
then-
yeah, absolutely not. That's not. And Andrew's he's actually very nice when he's not in the debate. Like when I've spoken to him over DMs preparing for this debate, or when I've met him in person. And yeah, he's actually very nice. And he was this. I remember when I met him recently in person after this. He's like, yeah, I remember you. That was a great debate. We completely stopped those guys, and it was really funny and excellent. But yeah, I think this was in the debate. He let me take control here because he was realizing that this guy actually has something good going on here. And so there were moments where he would give me a chance, but yeah, he does he does tend to take over the debate because that's just the kind of guy he is. He's very dominant. His presence is very known when he's there, and he's make sure he's basically exposing like the left for the evil like ideas that they often have. And so there's almost like an interesting fun contrast. In a way, it was good because I would calmly deliver the facts, and then Andrew would beat them over the head with it relentlessly, and they'd get rattled. So it worked.
Yeah,
in a way.
You know what? This is very nice. Mrs. D is saying that he had some nice things to say about you afterwards, JP. Yeah, no, I'm not like hopping on the hate train. I just thought that was funny that JP just is like, well, I don't think, and then Andrew's like, you cock-cockling, and he just starts like it's just a funny contrast of debate styles.
Yeah, like we're just trying to highlight that, like absolutely not. Like Andrew Wilson did excellently in this debate. Just want to make that very clear. I was talking with him over DMs, and he's like, okay, these two guys, they're both must studies type guys, and they're going to be citing these two studies from I think it's Prosecutors Project and the Cato Institute. And he said, okay, this is what we're gonna say when it comes to this. Just look into it really quick. And he sent me some like resources on that, and that was excellent. He started his opening statement, and he called that out instantly, and he was very prepared for that. And I think at that moment, Soy and Vince just realized like, oh shoot, he's like uber prepared to talk to us about these studies. And I haven't really read them that much, so I got to like move away from it. And he must studies. Yeah, he literally said must studies in DMs. He's like, that's exactly how Andrew Wilson phrased it. He said they're both must studies guys. And yeah, so if you look at the opening statements, like he just excellently shut that down immediately. So we could have had a 3-hour long debate on these studies, and instead we shifted from that into like these different instances of significant periods of time where there was political violence, and we showed how there's far more damage and destruction occurring from the left. And so he did really great. We both asserted our own frame, and he matched that really well, and he took down their frame. One of the ways I know I'm kind of monologuing here, but I just want to mention this last thing. One of the ways that I notice if I have won like a long debate, or to see like which side has done better, is I look at the opening statements and the closing statement side by side, and I see which side had the closing statement that was most similar to the opening statement. And it's very interesting to do it that way, because when you do so, and the closing statements of the side, the closing statements that are most similar to the opening statements tend to be the side that was more favorable in the debate. Because then if they're using the same points again and they're repeating, the moments from their opening, that's showing that they held on to that. They didn't deviate. They didn't change their argument, and they're probably able to come on top of it a lot. And so when that's going on, the other side, which happened in this debate, when they're not very focused and when they shift very drastically from their opening, and when they're trying to figure out what to do in the middle of the debate, they change their closing statement dramatically. And that happened. So of course, in the opening statement, Soy and Vince were like, "Oh, we have these studies that show that the right wing commits more political violence." And then at the end, they didn't. I don't even think they mentioned the studies, and if they did, it was like only very briefly.
Yeah, I mean, I've having watched this after JP did it, I know that like knowing the Cato study isn't run very well, and the reasons that it's not ran very well have just been absolute saviors, because they tried citing them when the NF America came, and I was like, look, here's the problem with those studies. Here are studies that are better, and here's why polling is better at measurement than actual crime rates done by political violence, because measuring the crime rates is incredibly difficult and not really quantifiable with the information that we have now. But what we can measure really easily is what percentage of people on the left support political violence and what percentage of people on the right do. And it is way higher on the left. Like people who identify themselves as far right are less likely than people who identify as moderate left to support political violence. So it is a very, very interesting, and Andrew definitely goes into debates prepared.
How would you know? You won't let him finish what he's saying.
Everyone, I'm going to let John Paul go first, and then Soy, you can respond.
Now, my understanding is you have people who are outside of the Capitol who are recording, and some people who are even let inside the building, almost walking in like a tour, not really causing much violence, who go and serve years of jail time, along with other people who maybe, like, if they were violent, they also served jail time. And you can pardon those people on the basis that you think that they were either serving a term that was way too long, which was the case when you have many people who were simply trespassing, for instance, spending years and years of jail time and fines, and you can pardon those people while also saying that the violence was absolutely outrageous. And Vincent, you said that Donald Trump never condemned the January 6th attack, when I just read to you the statement he released right after, calling it a heinous attack, saying what he did to try to stop it, and condemning the violence.
And then what did he do afterwards, John? What did he do later?
How many years afterwards?
Wait, hold on.
4 years later.
Hold on. Soy's next. Hold on.
Yeah, how can you claim that he thinks the violence is outrageous if he thinks they did nothing wrong and pardon them for it? If he's pardoning everyone, like, I agree, there are people in there that maybe shouldn't be in jail for 20 years for trespassing.
I like how they always discount the fact that people were in prison for 20 years for trespassing. And they're always like, yeah, you know, it's probably not the best. Biden should have pardoned all the people who are in jail for over 2 years for trespass. Being in jail for over a year for trespassing is an egregious abuse of justice. And the fact that Biden didn't do it just out of like spite to those people, like, yeah, would I ever storm the Capitol? No, my IQ's above 60. But like, that doesn't mean that that's a punishment befitting the crime. And so they're always like, oh, well, maybe they shouldn't have gone to prison for 20 years for stepping onto a place where the doors were wide open by the time they got there. Maybe that wasn't a good thing. But, and it's like, dude, he pardoned them 4 years later. If Trump really immediately it happened and he thought this was a good thing, he could have blanket pardoned all of them immediately, like the same day, the day after. But he came out with the condemnation instead. So
yeah, exactly. I want to. I'm going to just bring out this point. Mrs. D said, "Have either of you ever used the force doctrine argument yet?" Are you familiar with force doctrine, by the way, Miguel? I am. I'm just curious.
Is force doctrine? It's something about like feminism, right? And it's an argument against or something. I'm not too
I've seen Andrew Wilson use it in feminism debates. It's not primarily for that.
What is it?
Basically, like, just to like sum it up about his whole rights essentially reduced to force. That rights don't actually exist. It's just force, because rights are entitlements absent of duty, and you don't really have entitlements to anything. It's only really what you can enforce. And so that's basically like how the argument summed up. Whether or not I have used it, we'll see what you have to say about that. Actually, honestly, I'll just say your first thoughts.
Well, I mean, I actually, I don't want to say I have a Enlightenment view of rights, because I don't even think that's necessarily accurate, because even in the Enlightenment there's the idea of positive and negative rights. But my conceptualization of rights are it's more of like a moral framework for what the responsibility of government is over over anything else. Does that make sense? So this seems like it's defining rights as something very different than what I'm talking. Not even like it's a different image of rights or a competing image of rights. It's just different than what I'm talking about when I talk about rights. Does that make sense? Like, we're talking about different categories of things.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because of course we can probably say someone can have their rights violated if you steal from them. Their property rights or so forth are violated, but that's different from like an actual
government
right. Of course, is the way Andrew Wilson. Yeah, so there's we have laws and there's consequences if you break the law, of course. and we enforce those. But in terms of like blanket entitlement that you just like absolutely have the rights to something, and that's you are entitled that will never be taken away from you, that's not really like a thing that is real, and I think that's the force doctrine gets that right, at least in some way. So yeah, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I'd say that's just not what I conceptualize when I use rights. That's not at all what I'm referring to. I'm not referring to something that somebody
Yeah.
gives you, or something that you are protected from. I'm
That you
referring,
have.
yeah, or something that you have, or like I should say have, like the way that I have this pen right here, right? Like you don't have rights the same way you have this pen. You don't have rights the same way you have like the fire department or police department. Rights are like the framework of things that the government is meant to, or are the things that humanity's meant to protect, or inherently has access to by default. So rights aren't given to you. There's something that you have by virtue of being a person, like the right to speak, right? So long as another person's not transgressing on me, I have the ability to use my speech. So long as another person isn't transgressing on me. And so I guess it's a system of what would count as a transgression, right? Well, what does it mean for John Paul to transgress on my speech rights? Well, it doesn't mean that he's talking his mind and things that I don't agree with. It means that he physically puts a stop to the speech that I'm putting out. And so when I say rights, that's much more what I'm referring to. So I wouldn't have a problem with force doctrine by the sound of it. I just think we're talking about different things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I completely agree with that assessment. Jordan Cooper is saying, the same thing, that no one has the rights unless there's someone there to enforce them. Since men have a monopoly on force, women are appealing to men to enforce their rights. And so this is like something that Andrew Wilson talks about. He'll say that men are the bedrock of society, and that the only way that their rights, so to speak, exist at all is because there's men that are there to enforce them. And yeah, there's the monopoly of force that men have because, majority of them are in the military, police, firefighters, government, things that, and government's probably not the best example. Forget that I said government, honestly. But yeah, all these things, and men are, of course, physically stronger than women, have more capabilities to enforce rights. And so women are essentially reliant on men for them to have any sort of rights at all. And so that's like what the argument is trying to
I've heard
reduce
this
down
from
to.
Andrew, but I have a problem with it. It's the same reason. Remember I debated that kid on whether Charlie Kirk deserved to die or not, and he said, "Well, what is the teleology
Yes.
of a gun?" And I said, "Well, the teleology of a gun is to shoot things." He said, "Well, it's to kill." And then I was like, "Well, that's a very specific level of vagueness you're relying on." So when Andrew says women rely on men to enforce their rights, obviously that's true, but I think it's a very specific level of vagueness that argument relies on, because women don't just rely on men, and it's a very specific kind. Like really, who are the men that are being relied on? It's like 10% of men that enforce our rights, right? Like how many men are actually actively going to join some sort of revolution if our rights start getting transgressed on, are active military, law enforcement, like who are, I guess you could say, real men, right? And so then if we're going to say, well, women don't get the right to vote because their rights are enforced by men, then I would say, I know plenty, especially liberal. Yeah, most men don't get their own right to vote by demanding it and enforcing it. We're talking about like 10% of men that hold society together with the threat of violent force. And like, do I even know that I'd be part of that group of men? I'd love to think I'd be, but I've never enlisted in the military, and I have no intentions of ever doing it. So for me to sit here and go, ladies, you're relying on me for your like rights. So do you really have a right to vote? I'd be like, I mean, do I have a right to vote? I'm not really enforcing the defense of any rights right now. So that'd be my main contention. Because I have heard Andrew talk about that generally. I just didn't know it went under the name force doctrine. And I'd love to hear what he has to say, because I feel if we used his framework, I also wouldn't have a right to vote. So that to me would be not compelling, because I think I deserve a right to vote. And yeah, I think the argument relies on some vagueness. Maybe someone can correct me if I'm not educated enough in force doctrine, which I almost certain that is the case. But I'd love to speak with Andrew about that. Had never spoken to him, so that'd be a good first talk.
Just shoot him a DM.
You know what? I should totally shoot him a DM. See how that goes. If you were drafted, you would. Dude, I might be. Look, I'm gonna keep saying this. I don't think I'd be a draft dodger, but like I feel like there's something like I'd love to say I'd give my life for like a child, but I don't think anyone can actually say that until you've done it, you know? What I can say is like I'll take political violence to spread my viewpoints because that I've actually done. It happened and then I did it again. But like I'm not going to sit here and be like I would 100% die for my country. I think I would. I'd like to think I would, but I'm just not going to take the heroism badge if I haven't done it because that doesn't feel earned at all.
Passing whatever ridiculous thing, but someone who's committing seditious conspiracy, planning to overthrow the government, someone who like beat up police officers, any of these violent rioters are also pardoned. How can you possibly say that he thinks that violence is outrageous if he thinks you should get zero punishment for it?
He did not pardon every single individual, but additionally, what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to steel man your position. I'm going to assume that you are completely correct in what you're saying. There's two main problems. The one main problem is that whenever we give actions done by Kamala Harris and other politicians, we see you and Vincent constantly is saying like, oh, well, she condemned the action, so it's okay.
Wait, John,
and that's
to be
the only
clear,
proof.
in
That's
good
the
faith,
only
I asked you
defense.
this. Can you show me the person that she retweeted in this fund? And if they did something that was a violent action, I actually agree with you. I would say that is the closest thing that you have shown me to a left winger saying tacitly that violence is okay by bailing them out. I've actually said that. For all these other things, every single left-wing politician is saying this is awful, we condemn it, and their actions are not indicating of anything otherwise. They're not pardoning violent people. But if you do show me that specific fund and the specific person and what they did was violent, yeah, I'd say, yeah, that is actually tacitly endorsing violence. And I wouldn't agree with that. But that is in totality so
Wait a
far
second.
fewer than
I just
all
want to
these
make sure.
examples
Hang
you're
on.
talking on the
Can I
right.
make sure I got this right? So if I show you a bunch of tweets from left-wing politicians post Kirk's death, who literally strawman his positions and say that he was a racist fascist, you don't consider that to be some sort of like, I don't know.
I'd say that's an accurate description of objective reality. No.
Okay, so the thing is like that's not them basically giving a pass, right?
No, it's
no,
not, because
of
they
course
don't
not.
need to
So
give
to
example.
hang
They
on,
don't
so
say
to get
that
this
that's the
right,
only option.
hang on. I just want to make sure so I get this right.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to Charlie Kirk, they can condemn the violence out of one side of their mouth, and then on the other side, they can say that, well, but he was a racist, misogynist Nazi, right? Mm-hmm. But John Paul, when he brings up, well, okay, Trump can condemn the violence, right? But also give them pardons,
violence.
but also give them pardons later on because he thought that the prison sentences were far too stiff. Why is it that you think that argument would work against John, but not against you in the same context?
Left-wing politicians pardoning people committing violence,
Here,
which
you
is
want
why
an
I gave
example,
up
right?
the example. If you're showing her saying,
yeah, go ahead. Did you not say pause?
Oh, did you think it was? No, I did not.
Oh my God! I must have gotten your voice confused with John Paul on the video confused. Oh my goodness. In chat we have.
There's something that happened there.
I have a secret. I have a serious question. Why can't young American ladies pronounce the word women correct? How do you pronounce? Is it woman or women?
Women.
Is it because they say women? Woman. Which one's correct? Woman or women? Am I? That's a really good question. I don't know which one's correct. You know, it's like a girl called me Miguel, and her sister got really mad at her. She's like, say his name right. I never realized till that day that like half the people I know mispronounce my name as Miguel instead of Miguel. So maybe this is that. But they use women for.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how to say women.
let's bail out people who committed violence.
So it was actually this was an interesting point to pause at anyways. You know, we're talking about sort of stuff. I've showing examples where I think Andrew Wilson is brought up something that's quite clear here, which is that they're making arguments against us that Trump pardoned them 4 years later after they were in prison for 4 years because he thought that their sentences were too long, and he condemned the violence immediately. And so when you guys say something like, oh well, this action is okay because Kamala Harris condemned it or whatever, and when we do it, it's like it doesn't work because of whatever reason. So he was like really right to call that out. And then we're getting to something like pretty cool that's going on here.
Yes, that is pretty.
Yeah. I was just looking at the
and
chat
similar
for a second.
and something I would not be okay with, versus people accurately describing his ideology, which you say it can only lead to violence, which you actually had to caveat and say, well, it's only going to lead to violence because although everyone really understands that's not necessarily the only way you can deal with a fascist, a bunch of crazy people are going to get the wrong idea. But the crazy people on the right, when Donald Trump calls us fascists, I mean, they don't listen to him. Like, I just don't understand how you think these two things are even close to equal.
Okay, so
that's not an argument. That was just paddling.
The direct example was Kamala Harris promoted the Minnesota Freedom Fund, and which was set to bail out protesters. And among those, you have George Howard, who was bailed out on August 6th, who was arrested on a domestic violence charge. And then later that month, on August 29th, he was arrested again, accused of murder in a shooting. And so you have Kamala Harris retweeting the Minnesota Freedom Fund and telling people to donate to it.
You don't have to explain further. I completely agree. I think that was incredibly irresponsible of Kamala Harris. I think that contributed. I could say you could even tie this directly to her and other politicians who retweeted this stuff for all of the violence that came out of anyone bailed out by that fund. I would say ideologically consistent. That is not okay. In the same way that Joe.
That's also not at all ideologically consistent, because he's saying, well, you can tie all the violence committed by the people who were released after that. But he's not saying, well, you can tie all the violence of January 6ers after they were released by the pardon. That's not what he's saying. He's saying that the pardon in itself is proof that Trump supports political violence, but he's not supporting that same argument in the opposite direction and saying that the bailing out of the criminals is proof that Kamala supported that political violence. There's just no consistency there. And he's trying to act like, well, I accept it here, so I accept it here. But these are actually two very different different things that he's saying. He's saying Trump is bad because he pardoned them. Kamala, maybe you can be upset with her if the people she bailed out, they go and commit more crimes. That's not at all the same standard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was bringing up, I think I set the frame quite well in my opening and also reasserted it in the closing, and how, we stuck better to the frame. And there is something very interesting here, because I said in order to, say that a party is responsible for political violence, you must be able to get like a real actual scenario in case of political violence and link that to something that the politicians have done. And so that's exactly what I did here. I said Kamala Harris retweeted and posted the Minnesota Freedom Fund, and that happened during the riots. That was in the middle of the riots, and she posted that. And she also made other comments that I didn't bring up in this particular instance. But there was that. So and he concedes that. But you can't link Donald Trump pardoning J6ers 4 years later to any violent action. There's no violence that occurred after he pardoned those people. There's no political violence that occurred from afterwards. It's not like we've had another insurrection. The best thing that they got was like this sort of potentiality argument that, oh, maybe in the future people will be incentivized to perform an insurrection. Like, really, people are going to be incentivized to do a thing that causes them to spend 4 years in prison, maybe with the hopes that one day someone like Donald Trump will get into office and pardon them. It's like, no, I don't think people are going to risk 4 years of prison for that. That seems to be like a pretty sufficient amount of deterrence. And regardless, there's no actual thing that happened that you can link the pardons to. Like, there's no political violence that has occurred. Meanwhile, I've done the opposite. I'm saying there's this thing that is currently happening. These people are, and I cited an example. I cited George Howard. George Howard, in particular, was someone who was released on the fund and then murdered a guy afterwards. He was arrested on a violent charge, gets bailed out by the fund, and then murdered George Howard. And so on the fund, I very clearly showed how that led to more violence afterwards. I linked it to something that Kamala Harris said and did and promoted, and so it's pretty clear. And I think after this, I really honed in on the point and just say, like, this was the largest amount of political violence we've seen in modern history. So I basically claimed victory at that point. And so does Andrew Wilson. So the rest of the clip is pretty fun.
Biden mass pardoned these, like, a bunch of drug dealers who may now go out and do more crime. I think that is awful.
And his son.
Talk about what?
And his son.
Well, I don't know if his,
And
I
his
think
son.
his son's reformed. His son is reformed. I don't think he's ever going to commit another crime.
Yeah.
Right? I think he's good. All right. Hunter Biden
Meth
is a straight shooter.
Biden.
2028. Okay.
Yeah,
he's totally straight shooter.
Uh-huh.
But the problem is, if we're looking,
That's
at
not.
this
That
as a-
wasn't corrupt though, right?
No, I think it was. I think it
okay.
was. That's the whole point.
But
is
you
we're able
voted
to
for.
call
But
out
you
our own
voted for him
fucking
anyway. But you did vote for Biden, right? And he would have
Yeah,
voted.
it's called. I'm able to make an analysis. Of
Yeah.
which
Would you have
appears
voted? Would you have voted for him for a second term post him pardoning
I would
Hunter?
vote for Obama for a 5th term. Actually, in fact, I'm voting.
Yeah.
for Obama
Yeah.
for
Without the
28
trolling,
when
can you just answer my question?
I was going to say
I'm
the
not
same
trolling when
thing.
We're talking about fucking political violence, and now we're going
Yeah.
about Hunter Biden's son and all the crimes.
Well,
he's
I'm just
doing.
looking for
He's lost in the fucking
consistency.
weeds
I'm
about
just
this.
looking
So
for
what I see
consistency.
here- What I see
Well, yeah,
here,
but every
and
time I
wanna-
try to
wanna
pry
really
you for
highlight this.
consistency,
I
you
really
keep
want to
running
highlight
away.
this.
I've answered all of your
Actually, no,
questions,
I'm
dude.
not cherry picking. I
Okay,
just,
okay,
I
okay,
want-
I'm gonna let
I
Soy
have to
go.
that
mention
agrees
this.
with me.
I have to mention this. Okay, so this is the biggest concession of the debate.
Yeah, because
Kamala
we're good
Harris
faith enough to
actively.
say this
Hold
is a
on,
bad
sorry, let
thing.
John-
No,
You
I,
will
let John
not
Paul
say
I
finish.
this,
understand.
Sorry, let John
I
Paul
You'll
finish.
agree with my premise. You will not
I
say
wanna
this about
predicate.
Trump,
I
will
want to
you?
predicate.
You're gonna
I
filibuster,
really,
right?
I really appreciate. No, I really appreciate the consistency, and I appreciate that you're willing to concede this. I'm saying this is the biggest, most substantial concession of the debate because the Antifa and BLM riots of 2020 was the largest scope and scale of political violence, sustained political violence that we've seen in modern U.S. history. And when you have the vice president, the running vice president, and then the future leader of the party posting Minnesota Freedom Fund to bail out people like George Howard.
When was
That
George
is
Howard
absolutely
released?
Shut your fucking mouth. And let him finish, Vince.
No.
August
Whoa.
6th.
No, I'm not gonna,
August
I'm
6th, he was
now.
bailed out.
I'm
August
not
6th, he
gonna
was
take
bailed
words
out.
from you. When was it, John?
John Paul go.
John, let me ask you something.
Vince.
Corbin hasn't said anything in like 10 minutes. That's his first thing is let John Paul finish.
Vince, just let John finish his thing, and then you
Okay.
can
Corbin's the moderator.
All right.
Oh,
respect
okay,
you.
okay.
Good.
Yeah, Vince. Shut up.
Shut the fuck up, Andrew.
That he's one of many. I encourage you to look into the reports themselves. The fact is that Kamala Harris posted and encouraged people to donate to the Minnesota Freedom Fund, which was an organization that was bailing out these violent people. That's one example. If I looked into it more, and I'm free to look into it more after this debate and give you all the examples of all the people who were arrested under violent charges and how that is directly that's monumentally impactful when Kamala Harris is the one posting this in the face of the Antifa and BLM riots, which are burning down cities, injuring officers, killing people. Yeah, once again, $2+ billion of damage. Somehow we're going to completely ignore the $2+ billion of damage when we're talking about responsibility and political violence. We have an actor in the mainstream left-wing political landscape who is functioning in such a way that is endorsing, rationalizing, excusing, tolerating the violence that we have seen. You can say that she condemns it, but when she condemns it and posts
And that's
the
the
Minnesota
debate. We
Freedom
win.
Fund, you have a glaring contradiction on your
We
hands.
win.
So real quick, Vince, I have
so
to answer this.
we
because
win.
We're talking, you're right.
We win those. Andrew's so right. Oh, forgive
Yeah,
my
I do.
recommended.
I do completely agree with Andrew there. That was, I think, that was the winning moment of the debate.
I don't think you're allowed to say that. I feel like that's not allowed.
No, I do really think that's. I really like. I feel kind of sick when I say that I won a debate. Yeah.
Yeah, this is John Paul right now, just so everyone's aware.
Yeah, no, literally, I didn't say this in the debate, but I think we literally could have conceded everything else, and it still would not have amounted to how serious this concession was. And I was really trying to highlight how serious this concession was, because you have one of the party leaders at the time saying, doing something that is genuinely causing harm that you can see in the face of what was the most damaging instance of political violence in modern history. So essentially, since it's the biggest, nothing else is going to surmount it and go over it. And I want to make very clear why that concession is so important. So thank you, Andrew Wilson, for declaring victory.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, everyone. I am so grateful and so blessed that we consistently had like 10 viewers. That's like so phenomenal for our first live stream. I actually thought I and John Paul were going to be talking to nobody. So I really, really hope we have you back sometime. The stream should only get better from here. Yeah, thank you so much. JP, do you have anything to say before we end it?
Yeah, just 100% exactly what you said. Like, I wasn't sure how this was going to go, especially for our first stream, and it went very well. There's people here who are talking. We're having nice conversations where you had a debate, and I hope that went well. I saw like first 10 minutes or so of it, and I thought it was going pretty well. And yeah, there was a lot of great discussions, a lot of great videos that we're watching and reacting to. So I just sent a message in the chat. Please subscribe to Miguel and subscribe to my channel as well. And yeah, we hope to see you again in the future.
Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your night, and God bless. Bye. Thank you. I'll definitely drop by and let you guys know that I'm streaming. I just didn't do it today because he was already streaming when I did that. And so I didn't want to like go pull his viewers from him.